Hello, hello.
What up?
Good evening.
It's Wednesday.
It's hump day.
It felt like hump day today, I will say.
Not my kind of hump, but that part.
Mm,
That
yeah,
part.
I want that for you, friend. I want that for you,
It'll happen.
friend. Yes. Well, it's Wednesday, so we're back for TWG Fan Club. I'm not sure where. Oh, there he is. We are back. Our
There he
weekly
is.
wrestling fan club stream where we chat everything wrestling. We get together, we talk shit with the crew. I love being
Mm-hmm.
back. Tonight we're going to be talking about our favorite wrestling storylines. So we did our unpopular opinion stream on Cody Rhodes that did really, really well. Thank you for everyone that checked that out. Hey Dylan. So I like being able to kind of bring these topics to the fan club and really hear everyone's perspective because we're not, I mean, we are co-hosts, but then we're also just like in the fan club with everyone else, so we love being able to engage with all of you about these things. Seindole and I had a good weekend. We were outside, so we
Oh,
got
he's
back in the
outside.
swing of things this week. So it was long getting to fan club this week on Wednesday. Wednesday felt really far away, but we are here and we are very excited to get into things because I really had to think back on some of, because you have to separate favorite storylines from favorite feuds. It's a very different thing. So I can't wait to hear some of your guys' favorite storylines over the years because you got, the ones that are talked about all the time, but I want to get to the ones that, that's the thing about wrestling, everything connects with people in a different way. So I can't wait to see everyone in the comments telling us their favorite wrestling storylines later on in the show. Hi, Rikarsha. All right, I think it's fair to say the fan club has officially started. Rakarsha,
Dylan was here before Rakarsha. I don't know. They like neck and neck.
she
The one
might have had a busy day.
Yes, this is
She's an
probably busy.
educated queen. She's an
There you
educated
go.
queen. Hey,
Yes.
girl, I can't wait to hear what some of your favorite wrestling storylines are.
Right.
Before we get into that, just a little bit of what's going on in the TWG universe. First of all, shout out to my other half, Krista B. She has so much in the works for our 5th anniversary event in November. I'm so excited for it. Again, keep following us to learn all the details. It's going to be here in New York City, tentatively November 4th. And yeah, it's going to be a great event. I can't believe that we are, hey Letty, I can't believe that we are celebrating 5 years already. It is insane to even think about. And I can't wait to bring our wrestling family together again to
No.
celebrate. Hey, Keith.
Hey, Keith.
Yeah, hey, Vaughn.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah,
club is
the club
popping.
is popping.
Um, a fellow Kobe fan, Brian H. Waters.
Today.
Oh, I think her autocorrect got her.
I'm
You
We did.
Kobe Bryant.
know how apps
Yo,
really don't be wanting us to live our best lives
not for nothing.
sometimes.
That's tempting to start calling Brian that now, but we're gonna leave it at Hollywood. So I'm just
Hollywood.
Hollywood
start calling you
Borders.
Kobe Bryant. No, she goes. Liddy says
No.
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 Liddy said
So that
absolutely not.
is um
Oh. Yeah, no, in
got
all
you,
seriousness,
got you.
me and
Yeah,
Letty with the Kobe.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Vaughn, that's a tentative date. We don't know if that's the date yet, but that is very tentative. So we'll have a date for y'all soon. Me and Letty also, if you don't know, she's my twin sister. But we also have some ideas coming that we can't wait to share with you guys. We're always busy. Uh, we just dropped another schooling episode on YouTube. So make sure you go check that out with Pablo the Don and Krista B. They talk about more of the WoW superheroes. It's a good show. You learn about women's wrestling. There's more episodes going to be on Patreon. We're going to start recording our live episodes again next month, the week
nice.
Nice.
after the week after Labor Day. So I'm very excited about that because it's such a fun way to switch things up. Recording live. So I'm very excited about that too. Of course, get the merch. I always got to point to Justin's background. He got the for your wear all stacked up. Shout out to the wrestling club. Ooh, Dylan, you a Scorpio?
Surrounded by you, motherfuckers.
4 days before his birthday. Yeah, he's
Surrounded.
Scorpio
Jesus
season.
Christ.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
surrounded.
It's officially Virgo season too.
Oh,
Leo
Lord.
season
You and
has
Keith would be
ended.
great friends, Dylan. So y'all should chat because he's a Scorpio too.
Oh, okay. We got to get Keith on the stream one of these days. Definitely do. Ooh. Astrology, yo, yes. Let it be known. Let it be known. Yeah, I think that's probably if I had to choose, although Pisces are surrounded me, I would have to say Scorpio is my favorite water sign too. Shout out to the Scorpio. Shout out to Virgo.
Say that again? I know you ain't saying Scorpio's a favorite when you got a fucking Cancer on the stream. Wow.
I love Cancers.
God
Y'all
damn.
polar opposite signs, so it's that's a given that
We've been replaced. I see how it is.
No, not at all.
But see, here's the funny thing. Sometimes, Justin, you sound so offended. I've been so used to being an exception to the rule with Leos in some cases. So when people talk shit, I don't get upset. But then when they pump us up, I'll be pumped up too. But I was told I'm not as cocky as say my father or uncle or stubborn. But I'm so I've always been told I was the mild mannered one. But I don't get upset the way people are when mentioning signs.
You know what it is, Brian? Is because Cancers, especially Cancer men, always get a bad rep. Where we're always pushed down, less than. People love talking shit about Cancers and Cancer men specifically. So we're always we're crabs, so we're on the defensive. Where it's yo, say something wrong. There's a reason why our sign is a crab. We will snap the fuck back.
I feel that's what it is with a Taurus. Taurus is we'll let you go off, but you keep pushing me. You keep waving your little red, little flagging me. I'm a bull. I'll knock your ass down. I'm the complete opposite. I'm lethal with my mouth.
Hey,
we're the comeback people of comebacks.
So that's what it is. It's just we exist too, and then people no, the fuck you don't. Cancers,
Yeah, I mean it's a
Taurus doesn't have any beef with Cancer, so just putting that.
I know.
Out there.
I love Taurus too.
Hey.
But yeah, Brian H. Waters is a Leo, Dylan, so that should change your mind about them. They're decent. They're decent people.
Why are you saying like that? That should change your mind about them.
Because he has an iffy track record, but Brian H. Waters is pretty cool. He's a Leo, so
This is true.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
So.
You are an exceptional Leo. You are an exceptional Leo, Brian. Love that.
Oh man, but I already thinking about how we can mix astrology and fan club now because I feel we'll all talk about it at some point in time.
What if we cross wrestlers with wrestler personalities with signs? That would be an extensive thing.
Or I have a question. Can a wrestler in person be one sign, but could they have to play a character and do it well? That's a completely opposite sign. Is that
it don't work like that?
It won't.
No, because I noticed all the heels, all the heels, Stone Cold, Stone Cold access sign, The Rock access sign, all these everybody who has a sign access
100% a Taurus.
He's a 100% a Taurus, so it don't work like that. I wish it did, but it don't.
No examples.
No.
So now I'm curious. Now I gotta do research.
Now, Brock Lesnar is a perfect example of you could see Brock Lesnar's nah, that's a Cancer. That's one of us.
That's a Cancer.
That's a Cancer.
Listen, Cancer. I don't want to whip your ass, but you came into my circle. So now I'm gonna have to snap on your ass. That's
I want to be left alone to my own devices. Do not fuck with me, or I will end you. You say one goddamn thing about Sable, that's gonna be the end of your life. It's yep, that's a Cancer to a T.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
but see, all right, because I hear, and thanks, Letty. I hear the turned up 10 notches, but I'm thinking what if it's a completely somebody plays a character, in a movie. like for instance, Michael Rainey, right? Tariq, he said he's nothing like Tariq. So I'm wondering,
Oh,
can wrestlers do
love
that?
him.
Like, yeah. So that's all.
Like for example, The Rock is a Taurus.
Yeah.
So they're sweet, but they're also sometimes they're assholes. I would know. That's just sometimes in
Yeah.
like mild setting.
Yeah.
Like
This
you're not
is
gonna
fun.
tell me I can't do it type setting. That type of thing.
Yeah,
Same thing with John
that's
Cena.
definitely you.
This is
But
fun. I want to do it.
no, it
I,
is because we could
I guess the
definitely like
closest to
talk
what
about
Brian's
that.
talking about would be like Adam Cole, who plays like a very good bad guy, but then off screen is like the biggest sweetheart in the world, who's also a
What's his
Cancer.
sign?
He's a
He's a Cancer.
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 That's what,
Oh,
so he's like you. That don't
he's so
count.
sweet.
Yeah, that's true. Kind of don't count.
Because his baby face is literally Justin Babyface.
I was gonna say
Oh,
MJF, but I was gonna say
I don't know.
MJF,
He's
but
nicer than me.
yeah, maybe.
I was gonna say
No, Justin's like the
MJF,
most
but
giving person. So that's the reason
Oh
why.
my god, he's
that
amazing.
I was gonna say MJF, but that man is an Aries through and through. Like I can't say nothing
Yes.
about that man
Yes.
through and freaking through. He is the definition of an Aries. Shout out to moms, but full definition. So I don't know. We got to figure it out. Maybe it is a future fan club episode.
No, I think
Yeah, now
that would
I'm
be fun to
thinking.
explore.
Like who's
for
their sign and who's not based on their character. I guess.
sure. Yeah,
Writing it down.
that definitely sounds cool. I love being able to talk about the random shit and just like connect it with wrestling. It's a beautiful thing. I know a lot of people were doing a lot of like red carpets and stuff. Like, you know, everybody's been out in the streets. Did you guys hear about Zelina Vega and Dakota Kai's podcast or, you know, stream that they're
No.
doing?
I
Was that
did.
the announcement?
Yes.
They are
Oh,
starting their own podcast.
I
And
love that
then
for them.
Zelina and Dakota actually elaborated more on Zelina's Twitch, where Dakota actually pulled up. So it was both of them together, kind of like explaining what's going to be and whatnot. But YouTube, Twitch, yeah.
Nice. I love that for them.
Me too.
Considering that Zelita had such a hard time with Twitch before she came back, and now they're kind of like slowly starting to open it. I love that for them.
I do too, and she stuck to her guns, and like
Yeah.
that was very brave for her to do, for her to actually be like, okay, well, I'd rather keep my Twitch, and now look, she's like, she's doing her thing, former tag team champion, and yeah, I'm here for Zelina Vega as well. But we love to see it. We love to see it. Do want to say rest in peace to Terry Funk, hardcore legend,
I
who passed
know.
away today. I broke it at work to my sports editor because I got a plug. Well, no, just somebody that told me. But it was like, you know, he's lived a really good life.
Yeah.
And has had a very long career. He's influenced so many different people. I think he probably was one of the few like that invented the wrestling retirement, because I swear he was having last tribute match for Terry Funk like in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, like, you know. So I love that we can say that, because a lot of, you know, wrestling legends sometimes don't even live as long as Terry Funk did. So rest in peace.
His last picture was with Mick Foley, and he actually looked pretty healthy. But I know the rumblings were that his memory and like his motor functions were slowly on decline. And so there was always that hope that like maybe he'll bounce back maybe once, but then he'd live a little longer. But I mean, I always say that out of misery is better than in misery. So because for your mind to be going on a little downward is a lot. It's a lot that people don't understand. You need your brain still to motor around. And he was losing that. So I mean, rest in power. I mean, Terry Funk contributed to a lot of wrestlers, even their talent, because he was one of the teachers. Right. He was a Dusty Rhodes, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
He's the first wrestler I remember watching, and he was old. Like, I remember it was a WCW
when he was Chainsaw Charlie.
Nah, this is a little bit before that. I would say like 94, 93. Me, my dad, my uncle, my sister watching a pay-per-view. And my uncle just busts out of nowhere. Yeah, you know Terry Funk 51. And my father was like, what? Man, he need to go somewhere and sit down. That's his favorite line. And I'm just sitting there like, wow, like he old. And then he was still at it 10 years later. I'm like, okay, so he's the 60s, you know. And like you said, the wrestling retirement. Wasn't that in Wrestling with the Shadows, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
Bret Hart.
Mhm.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
and I was sitting there, I'm like, wait, he had a retirement match? But because mind you, I saw Wrestling with the Shadows years later. So
Yeah.
by the time I saw it, Terry Funk was still
It was
wrestling.
bad.
But that's just,
No,
you know, love for the
my
business.
first experience with him was watching him at ECW One Night Stand, literally break the
Wasn't that
bricks off
supposed to
the
be his
edge.
last match
That
too?
was supposed to be his last match, and then like a year
You're
later, he had another last
talking about
match.
the 90s at this point.
Yeah. he sat in there. Him and that's the one thing I know. Mick Foley's like totally heartbroken because they're like undeniable. Their chemistry is just like undeniable. And I remember in an interview they said that they like Terry Funk wasn't going to do it unless Mick was doing it with him. So he always had people's backs. And I just remember him like breaking the brakes off the edge. That was like the best thing ever. I'm sorry. And him and Tommy Dreamer, like, and then they brought out Lita was supposed to be in that match, and then she was in that match, and then they brought out Tommy Dreamer's wife, and she was talking all that smack, and then it turned into like a triple
Yeah.
But that man was still beating the brakes off people, chain and all.
Oh,
So God
yeah.
rest his soul.
Yes, another legend. Is he? I'm sure he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He better be.
Right.
I think he had a match afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The match right after.
He probably had a match right after.
I mean, when it comes to WWE's Hall of Fame, you'd be surprised who's in there and who's not.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. We should definitely do a fan club close to. Well, I don't know how they're gonna do it, but we should do that close to like Mania season. Just talk about the Hall of Fame. Thank you, Vaughn. So let's take a quick break, and then we will get into our favorite wrestling storylines. I want to hear all of y'all favorite storylines. Dylan, Rakarsha, Vaughn. Tell all your friends to come. Hashtag TWG fan club. We're gonna get into all of it. I'm very curious to see what Letty's favorite wrestling storylines are, because we really enjoy a lot of them together that I'm gonna talk about later on the stream. I love looking back on these things because, you know, we're podcasters, so we're kind of critical of it and we're always commenting on how we feel about storylines. But sometimes it's just a good show to watch week to week, like at the end of the day. And it's like, you know, this storylines may not have led to like a main event WrestleMania match, but like even the storylines that last like a couple months, like it's engaging and you connect with it. And that's why I want to talk about some that we don't really talk about. I am gonna say, just because the bloodline is hot and we're only in the third inning, I don't want to talk too
bottom of the third.
Exactly.
Bottom of the third.
Bottom of the third.
In this slow ass baseball game of life, bottom of the third.
Yes. So I don't want to get too much into the bloodline because it's probably one of the best storylines WWE has ever done. And like modern era, past era. I want to get into some other ones that we don't talk about. So let's take a break.
Can't wait to talk about mine.
Ooh, let's take a break. Maybe we'll start with Brian H. Waters while everyone in the fan club types theirs in the comments. And we'll be right back.
Okay.
This moment, especially, it was in front of a crowd and she came in as champion. And even though, you know, this is Bianca's moment and she, you know, if Bianca didn't win, I would have been like, what the hell? It was still, I think, a moment for Sasha, for her to be self-realized, like different gear, like everything about her, the confidence, you know, of course she had to have an entrance. But this moment for me is probably one of my favorite Sasha moments. And I was trying to find a photo of Sasha's face and her and Bianca getting like emotional before the bell rings. And I think for just Black girls, Black women, shout out to Black Wrestling who got us the hoodie, the sweatshirts with the moment on it. But it was significant in so many different, you know, ways. And then this being the second match that main evented WrestleMania.
But for the first Black females to do so.
Yes, exactly that.
I'm so jealous that of everyone that's got that Black wrestling shirt of Sasha and Bianca. Like for the love of me, I'm still like Black wrestling. Can you please like release like one more and just send it to me, please?
I was thinking the same
I just
thing.
want one.
Join the Patreon, as Matt would say.
I've been doing the Patreon. Send that, please, please.
No, you gotta remember that
one.
That too happened like right after the whole Nation of Domination shirt. So
There's probably Shout out to Black Wrestling. Shout out to Mercedes, who just tweeted a heartfelt post of her and Bailey hugging and said, "Let's do it again sometime." And I just
you had to be the iconic behind it, being there, and I'm like, yo, they really got like a African American girl headlining a pay-per-view, and I didn't care that it was NXT. I was just like, damn, like they slobber knocker, as JR would say. That was the best. And then I didn't even realize it was I was failed to the concept of an Iron Man match. Please forgive me. I was having a little like Tiffy had last night, not knowing that Becky was and never an NXT champion. I was having a moment, and then I was like, oh wait, this is an hour long match, and they let two women do that. Respect.
And the other day was their 8-year anniversary.
And they did put their job on
the line. Nikki, shout out to Nikki from Women's Wrestling Talk, who is doing so many amazing things.
Hello,
and wait to see you soon.
We got to go to an AEW show because she be in the collision with me. Because
I've been seeing. I love like, so it's crazy. I love going to. I know I said it before. I love going to AEW shows.
That's how it's meant to be enjoyed in person.
Good.
Yes, and you get a Ring of Honor show after that. You can't beat that. Can't beat that.
I might need to go back. Let me know, Seindole, next time they come to Newark. I'm in there like swimwear.
I got you, sis. Or Grand Slam.
Oh yeah, Nikki, you've been busy. You had definitely been busy
working.
Yes, you have.
Shows, working, all these.
They said Cody Rhodes know me, and I'm snapped.
And I will say, like you have so many things on the horizon as well. So I'm so excited for you, baby. I love you.
Love you, baby. As Cody would say.
Podcast. Okay, like we need to definitely figure out when you guys are going to be on the show. Get your podcast. I don't talk about enough. I think we have been podcast family since the very, very, very start, and we have yet to collaborate, and it's just such a strange thing. So we got to make sure that happens for sure. We love you too, Nikki. Yeah, Collision is good. So I think I mentioned last fan club that we had we have Cam Seahawk on the show next Monday, and we talked about how Collision is actually working and how it's pretty good, and even for the time slot that it's in, I think it's gonna get traction. Because then it's either going to be the Saturday night thing you do when you don't feel like doing anything else, watching anything else, or your Saturday night activity if they come to your town. So I think that is it's AEW is cooking. They have not a perfect promotion, obviously, but they're cooking over there. I have become a really big Ricky Stark fan, and if you don't know, in the fan club, once it hits 8:00, we do watch Dynamite as a family. And you guys keep us updated as well as everyone.
Brian took it right.
Hollywood.
You understand? I'm looking at it up close, and I'm like, and mind you, Pyro still going off with him in that belt. I was like, okay, you have passed the mini Rock mark. You are Ricky Stark. Ain't no more version of Rock. You are Ricky Stark. I was like, this man, the way he just glistened and shined. He glistened and shined remind me of? He reminded me of, like, not Bobby Roode, like, I can't name, his name was on the tip of my tongue. Bobby something. I'm going to come back to it, but he just had a glisten to him. I'm like, and you see the girls just like.
I'm about to say beautiful Bobby Eaton.
Yes. That's what he gave me.
Take it way back.
He had like a glisten to him. A glisten to him. I'm just like, oh no, you are Ricky Star, baby. Ain't nobody calling you Baby Rock. You were just Ricky. Like, it's working. And for him to have that show as his own platform, I enjoy it. And then I see a whole lot of other people starting to enjoy it too. So shout out to Collision, because I feel like the formula is working.
Pretty Ricky, what they call him.
Somebody tweeted, and I don't remember who it was, like, Collision is like the show, it's like the fat is trimmed and like the right people are on it and are probably like directing what creative is like, so it's a little different than every other show. So I'm all the way into it. Ricky Stark, absolutely.
Because you said trim the fat, but I agree with you in the sense of, like, people that normally don't get a chance on Dynamite and on
Rampage.
yeah, they don't get a chance. They're getting a chance on Collision because then one thing I noticed too, they really high on Sky Blue, but it's hard to fit Sky Blue into those two shows. So now she's been on Collision a lot more and she's getting a lot more traction. And I love that for her because I think Sky Blue, as far as young talent goes, she's very talented. She's like, I feel like her and Roxanne Perez were in the same boat, but just like Roxanne Perez got that more of a push. But Sky Blue is it.
That's exactly what happened.
And if they keep letting her push, they'll start pushing her with the familiar. So like other people that have wrestled with her will get that chance too. So I like that. Like you say trim the fat, but I'm like, it's giving more of an opportunity to the people that were in the back, probably just like chilling at the other shows.
That had like superstar power, but it's like, how do you shine when there's so many people on the roster, but so much TV time? You know, the usual kind of dynamics that come with that situation. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Little kid on fire at church, but yeah, okay. I definitely need some elaboration.
Nikki, we're gonna have to talk.
Nikki,
we're gonna have to talk.
Wait,
that sounds like a conversation for a Thirsty Thursday. Cause what?
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of Thirsty Thursday, the next one will be September 14th.
Nice.
Tentatively. So make sure you join us. You'll see beautiful Seindole, CRISPA, possibly
You'll see us drinking.
The usual crew. So that's gonna be super exciting. So let's get into some of our favorite wrestling storylines. All of us have been lifelong wrestling fans for the most part. We all watch different promotions. We just talked about AEW, which we might should do an AEW fan club one day, so we can actually have a good amount of time to talk about it. But we all have different tastes. We all have different favorites. So I want to know what connected with you guys. We know, like, okay, who our favorite wrestlers are. Like, I know Seindole likes CM Punk, but I want to know, like, what are those like storylines that happened over the years that really captured you? What are some of your favorites that you look back on fondly? So Hollywood, Brian, let's start with you.
Wow, here we go with the Hollywood stuff. You know,
I left the chat.
Hey, take him down, La Cienega. Let's go.
You know, there was a story back in the day, and it's where the two worlds collide, two shows meet. Because tonight we're gonna talk about biggest returns in wrestling, and this storyline led to the return. But you know, there was a time when this guy had made his debut on Monday Night Raw. And this led to the guy making his debut on Monday Night Raw, that being the immortal Hulk Hogan. When the MegaManiacs came together, and that being Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And what we saw was, and mind you, this is me as a child watching, hated Jimmy Hart. He was Money Inc.'s manager at the time. And this is the first time where I remember a manager switching sides and not doing the bad guy turning on, not being the good guy turning on the bad guy, but it was the bad guy turning on. He became a good guy when Brutus had, he had the accident on his face, but they worked it into a story. And then Money Inc. took the briefcase, hit him in the face with the briefcase. And like even Jimmy Hart was like, come on, all right, y'all, enough. Like we beat him up. That's enough. And afterwards, he called Hulk Hogan. That led to Hogan coming back. Unfortunately, they didn't win the tag titles at WrestleMania 9, but obviously, my guy got the bigger prize. But yeah, that was one of my first favorite storylines that I can remember vividly. Because everything else was just like watching wrestling, but like I would watch it, but I wasn't like hooked into the story, if that makes sense. You watch wrestling, you want to see your favorite wrestler win. Maybe like I could have said Brett and Davey, maybe, but this one right here, where I was like emotionally attached to Brutus Beefcake and Hulk Hogan trying to get those tag titles after what they did to Brutus.
I'm gonna let you rock with that because it resonated with you, and that those are your boys. So
It's so adorable
back,
when
that was fun.
Like Brian is almost like my better encyclopedia. Like I feel like we're all on the encyclopedia shelf for wrestling. So when he starts going back into these old school like feuds, I'd be like, intriguing. And then I find myself, because YouTube is, I didn't realize there's like a whole dark underground of YouTube videos that show like actual footage of old Monday Night Raws before the network even showed up. And I'd be looking it up and I'm like, oh shit, he's right. So I like that for Brian. I like that for Brian. It's on brand for you.
Yeah, man, nostalgia. I mean, we got favorites, so it's not like my favorite, but to kick off this show, I wanted to go all the way back. I wanted to take us back to 1993.
It's fun going back to those because it was easier to live in kayfabe.
In life.
Yeah. Like life was so simple at that time. Like
when you knew nothing.
Yeah.
You knew nothing. Like if I could go into my favorite storyline for a second.
Yes.
Okay, Lance Storm, if I could just talk to you for a second.
That was awesome. I don't care what anyone says. And people just outright boo him. That was just and it's like, no, nobody came to hear you talk. And remember, it like tied into the what era. So it was like Brandman too.
See, it didn't work for him. Like the what chance, because he was so boring. It's just that shit carried on a little too long.
It did. Like he was holding the show hostage at one point.
Yeah,
like at one point.
And not like in a good way.
No.
But it was fun in the beginning.
Yeah. But that's and then it's one of those things that kind of like, okay. Like it kind of winded down, but he didn't know it winded down, so he kept going. That type of thing. I really thought Lita was pregnant with Kane's kid. I dead ass thought that.
I said
because in my head,
right?
As
Jesus.
In my youth, I'm like, what are y'all thinking? Like, and then when they got married on Raw, I was like, I said, who's not stopping this? Like, the whole locker room should be out here. And then you had Trish.
Thank you, Trish.
Because, mind you, first of all, that outfit.
Thank you, Trish.
Thank you for that outfit, sis. Because listen.
It was giving
a lot. But then you had Trish go out there and make it 10 times worse. And then Lita trampling her pregnant. So now I'm confused. I'm like, you're not supposed to be fighting pregnant. Like, what are you doing? So that whole thing. And then what ruined it, though? And what killed it? Why did Gene punt that baby? Like, why did he punt that?
Anytime I hear his name, that's literally the first thing I think about. I know nothing else about this man.
Yep.
So, because if y'all remember, but you know what it was, though? It was I understand what they were trying to do. Like, first of all, it was and I agree with Dylan's comment. It was very believable when she started getting into Kane. That's the type of short, long storyline that I like. Because at first it was like I'm obsessed with you. Now I want you, I'm gonna get you. I know you got a man, I don't care. I'm gonna come after you. And he like put Matt out. Poor Matt Hardy was getting beat up there and beat up in real life.
Matt
we didn't
took
even
some
know
L's for Lita.
He really did.
What?
Kayfabe
took an
real.
L. He took an L. He took a yellow flag. He took a seat. He sat in the box after the fight in the ice ring. He took everything.
Like,
they gave him a red card, send him off.
Yeah, he got benched for the rest of the season. Like, they put him through a lot. Okay.
Oh, okay, Keith. Gene is a cook now. Okay. I love the random trivia you find out in the fan club.
I got a funny story when you finished meeting Gene Snitsky.
I'm want to hear about that, but then like it got blurred with the whole miscarriage thing, and I understand that's the twisted mind of creative. I need to find out because there is a fun fact about who was the one who was like, "We're done. We're gonna end it this way with the storyline." Because then it slowly started to turn into okay, Lita's on Kane's side, like they're fighting duo and all that stuff, and then she just like turned on him, which now we know why they did what they did. But I liked it. It was funny. The punting the baby was a lot. That was a lot.
Sometimes you gotta pump babies.
But it helped Kane and Gene Skitsy become like the two, like one was The storyline of one being crazy and one being just like borderline demented. He knocked Kane down a peg or two for being demented after putting that damn baby. And I'm gonna end on that. But I like that. That's the storyline that stays in my head. That's just one of like many that I have. But I was so invested. Like I was bootlegging Raw just to make sure that we found out if Lita was okay with that baby.
It was very enticing. Like
it was very enticing.
Definitely got you hooked for sure. So I want to get into Dylan's. He's saying this is one of his favorites, and I just watched something about this. I want to say Timeline, one of the WWE shows,
because they were doing the SummerSlam. You might went on a SummerSlam rabbit hole like me.
Yes, absolutely. So SummerSlam 02, HBK versus Triple H. It was you, Hunter, and the Smirk from Trips. So coming from the Shawn Michaels perspective of this time, I love it because Shawn Michaels was in his recovery, so he was kind of exploring everything new again. And him and Triple H got to work together where they both were on the same level. When Shawn Michaels was a top star in the 90s, Triple H wasn't like quite there yet. So they didn't really get to work with each other to the height that they did at this point and on in the Ruthless Aggression era, because now it's like Triple H has been solidified as a top guy. Shawn Michaels back, he's healthy, he's ready to go. And so they were really able to, make it work. And I thought this was a hilarious fucking storyline.
Yo, it made me like continue to hate Triple H more, because you gotta like figure when I stopped liking Triple H when he turned on DX, and really when he like broke The Rock's arm and with the sledgehammer and the casket back in '99. But then next thing you know, he's WWE champion. Felt like he was always winning matches he shouldn't have won. But this right here, I was like, okay, DX back together. This is pretty cool. I was already liking him when him and Jericho had their feud. But then after this happened, I was like, all right, I'm done. That's the reason why I can't stand you. All because but he's so good, like in this feud between them two. And you could tell they was like, it's probably one of the things like, man, let's go show these young guys how it's done. And let's go get this money.
Yeah, that's true. When you think about it. Because I feel like if it were talent and brains, Triple H and Shawn Michaels always worked. So to see them at odds, and you finally see Shawn Michaels use like what's left of his brain, because honestly, he be ditzy sometimes. Y'all can't deny. Sometimes on camera, because it was always like, think of the DX moments, right? Like you think of that moment where Shawn Michaels like losing his shit, so he just starts kicking random people. He kicked the timekeeper, he kicked the script holder, and Triple H is like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I can't help." Like that was always like their, I don't want to say Beavis and Butthead. I always want to say like Keenan and Keys type moment together. So to see that happen, I was just like, oh man, I should have seen it. It was like I should have seen it all along type moments. So that I did enjoy. Because you never got to also see them feud. They slowly start playing mind games with each other. Like when Shawn Michaels tried to convince Triple H that, okay, it's fine that you're punking out of this match with The Undertaker because you can't beat me. That was like that little riff. And it started there. So I like that.
Yeah.
Same. And you're right, Keith. That was definitely one of the moments that just made it good. And Vaughn also said earlier that Shawn Michaels is the king of storylines. I wouldn't necessarily say the king of storylines, but he understands the business and he's captivating enough to know how to sell a storyline as well as tell the story in the ring once the match happens, which is why he's one of the GOATs. And
in the position that he's in. That's why NXT is so good right where it is. You just look at all the stuff that he's doing down there. I mean, they kidnapped Ava last night. And that's one thing that's going to happen. Parking lot brawls and kidnappers under Shawn Michaels.
Yo, I'm low key jealous. I ain't there for that because that's going to be a wipeout. Like slowly, and I like storylines that get you involved with the person in it. Like I would have never been invested in Diamond Mine, but I feel like even when I was excited, I watched them win the tag team championships, and I was like, oh, I love them. They're definitely like, they're the redemption of what Jordan and Cable were supposed to be before Jordan got injured to me. But the fact they have Ivy also, and it's like the Diamond Mine, blah, blah, and you saw it decline, but now it looked like it's coming back up. Like, I like storylines like that. Like, that's the type of investment I like. Like, the kidnapping is such an old to Stephanie McMahon. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
The first thing I thought of was Undertaker and Stephanie McMahon with the whole kidnapping angle. I was like, I want to
They
see where
knocked
this is
down the
going.
camera and all.
Them kids work hard. Like they work hard.
Mhm.
They continue their stuff. They continue their stuff on camera, but they also take it to social media because they know how social media works, and they include it in the show. That I like too.
Yeah.
Facts. So I want to talk about some of the response to our tweet as well.
Twitter.
Oh, let's go to the tweet. The tweeters.
We don't call
Okay,
it the
let's see
other
what the
word.
Twitterverse has in store
I
for
don't
us.
know what that is.
I know it's not Twitter, but go ahead, y'all.
What
When I put in
Shit.
www.twitter.com, this is what comes up.
right.
Okay, sir.
Your mama called it Twitter. Your daddy called it Twitter. Them patent and
Yep.
trademark papers show Twitter. I'm not calling that shit X.
Oh no. I don't know what X is. I open up the app I always open, and then I just do what I do.
X is
Like,
just being
Speaking
extra.
of NXT, yo, Trick Williams has now been added to the list of men I will be watching. That match was beautiful. That crowd was beautiful. Mind you, they was singing "Trip Gonna Beat Your Ass" like it was a church hymn. Then they had Booker T jamming because when he came out, they was like, "Whoop that trick," and Booker T's like, "What?"
Yo, Brian,
You have to watch it.
That said that you think that Trick also like has the it factor as well to like go to the main roster.
1000%. That's why I think they put him and Carmelo Hayes together. Like if by the end of this year those two are at WrestleMania, don't have a match against each other, it is solely because somebody's trying to pitch somebody's feelings. Those two need a match together. They need a match together.
Too soon. I understand what you're saying. It's too soon.
But how are they going to transition Carmelo? Carmelo deserves to be there.
Are you
a little
saying
while
WrestleMania
longer.
or WrestleMania weekend?
WrestleMania.
That's too soon.
What do you mean?
It's too soon. They put them on the main roster. LA Knight didn't have a match last year. Bobby Lashley didn't have a match last year.
You know how long LA Knight been there?
But I'm saying, like, so he's been there like longer than them. Like, but
we talking about the future, honey.
We'll get into that's we have to table that one because it's a good discussion. But you know, we got a rundown. But yeah, Trick and Mello, Shawn Michaels and Diesel.
When it comes out to like when they do like their awards for the season, they do NXT Wrestler of the Year. Like Trick Williams, honestly, should be the one that gets that award. I know Mello's had a great year, but the ascension of Trick Williams to where like he went from just Carmelo's sidekick to where he's growing into his own match by match, month by month, to where it's like,
shout out to Dawkins too.
You are holding your own against Braun Breaker. Yo, you are holding your own against Dragunov. Just the growth of Trick Williams is just like incredible to watch. To where he's like, now when you watch NXT, that's one of the guys that you gotta tune in because you're just watching him just ascend, the same way like you watch the Horsewoman ascend, the same way you watch like some of those guys in NXT, just the same way that extension, where it's just like, bro, it's too early for Mania, and at the same time, I don't want them to turn on each other just because like New Day showed us like you don't have to always turn on each other to have them split up. And it's
but y'all know that's what they're slow. You know that's what they're slow burning to.
So tired.
Y'all know that's what they're slow burning to.
Like,
it's not going to be a.
On each other. Like it's like been
I think. Okay, everybody, pause for 2 seconds. No one said anything about turning on one another. But as far as Trick Williams finally getting the opportunity for the belt, because when was the last time Trick Williams, as talented and as good as he is, had the opportunity for a title? It don't have to be Carmelo, I'm better than you, blah, blah, I'm done being your sidekick, because look at how they even branched off. It wasn't even like, oh, you don't think I could do it? It was more like, listen, man, I know you got the talent, the speed. We're both as good. But I think at this point, you need to go prove to everybody that you're not just my second piece. And he said, all right, bet. So it's not as much as I think they're going to go into some like diabolical, like, feud. I think if they want good sportsmanship, they would have a competitive match.
Right. Like it's like, you know what?
Because that's what they turned it solely
into. A shot at the
right.
Like I would anything else. And that's a refreshing way to do it, because then it will be that mutual respect. And again, they don't have to necessarily like turn on each other.
Right. So, my mind is not even close to thinking they're going to turn each other. My mind is someday they'll be like, all right, let's show everybody why we the best, why we like Shaq and Kobe, because that's what they've compared each other. I like when
Ooh,
Trick does a
bad
little
comparison.
Turn on each
comparisons.
other.
They're not
Bad
gonna turn on each
comparison.
other. No, not bad.
Shaq and Kobe hated each other the
They
last
do,
2
right?
years.
But
You
I'm
could have said
saying
Jordan
like,
and Pippen or
They
Steph
got
and
them
Clay.
rings
but
though.
Jordan and
That's all
Pippen
that
don't like each other
matters.
either. What are y'all
All right,
talking
Steph and
about?
Clay, but they never turned on each other. I
There
understand
you
Right.
go.
where you're
Stephen
going with
Clay is
this.
better.
Y'all
Shaq and
get where
Kobe
I'm
was like,
going.
nah. Kobe was throwing Shaq under the bus under depositions. Like, you know he be cheating on his wife, right?
Hey, we're
Come
gonna
on,
not
man.
disrespect
Come
that
on.
on Bean
Come on.
Day.
Come on.
Yes, definitely. So can I mention one of my favorite storylines because
Yeah.
someone else mentioned it on Twitter at Yankee Lindsay, who is in the Bella Army as well.
Hey,
I
Bella
guess
Army.
I want to talk about that
Bella.
storyline too, because I don't know if y'all saw my retweet.
So I loved the Stephanie versus Brie Bella storyline because
Ooh.
it kind of was real. Like it could have been realistic. Of the simple fact that everyone felt like Daniel Bryan was being mistreated. He was being underestimated. He wasn't given the fair opportunities. The yes movement being something that literally dictated what needs to happen because of just that like respect for how good Daniel Bryan is, and then his, indie career and all that kind of stuff. And Brie Bella is like really his wife. They have the reality show on at the time, and I feel like they're soulmates. They're meant to be. So for them to be able to work together, like Daniel Bryan legit had to take time off. So fake firing him was great. It was one of those wrestling storylines that just works perfectly together because it was just the right amount of reality and the right amount of fantasy. And Brie got to smack Stephanie McMahon.
Yo,
Who I think is like the smack
Ah.
queen. Like everyone talks about how hard she goes for it when she slaps you. Stephanie McMahon, like you got to be ready for that shit. If you listen to me and
it's
CRISPA
whiplash.
Spotlight on Stephanie McMahon that we did, we have a whole segment where we just talk about the different people. We literally list everyone she slapped, including her mother.
I forgot she
Yeah.
did that.
Shout out to the McMahons when it comes to storylines though, because
They
they
don't.
will turn their
Yeah.
family drama into that shit in a heartbeat.
You watch Evil, my favorite show. I hope they bring back a season 2.
So good.
I need a
It
season.
It's
needs
produced
it
by
needs
my
season.
hero John Cena.
It needs more than John. You need to get on the ball because we know you don't got work. So we need you to get. Nobody has work. Come on. I need you to. He
Damn, why you
don't.
calling out
You
that
got
man's
time on your
unemployment
hands.
right
Neither does
now?
The Rock. I'm gonna call out The Rock too because what you doing? Your daughter getting kidnapped. Your
I
family
mean, he's
beefing.
counting $7. That's what he's doing.
He'll be back this Friday, so I can't really disrespect The Rock. He'll be back this Friday, so I can't disrespect John Cena. But anyway, he needs to get the ball rolling. But I watch Evil, and I love that episode of Evil where she talks about, growing up in the family and how the storyline started. And I talk about her getting kidnapped by the Undertaker, and it turns out that it's her father who sets it up. We know that whole storyline, which kind of builds her to be, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to be a princess. I'm not going to be just the daughter CEO. I'm going to become Stephanie McMahon. So her and her husband now fast forward becoming the authority and being the same type of menace that their father was when he was an authoritative figure, just abusing the power. And then it trickles down to Brie, but Brie's a different type of person that's like, I'm not going to take your shit. That build up, like from Stephanie getting arrested to Brie getting tackled outside the ring, like that, like her getting arrested. You arresting Stephanie McMahon has to be the most iconic thing ever.
Yeah.
Like he pressed them charges. She hit me. She hit me. Pressed them charges against the boss, and she was like, "You're gonna regret this." Like even her voice, she has her father's voice. That's what kills me.
Yeah,
She has her father's voice. It's
can
perfect.
connect with the audience in that way where you just really hate her, but you also love her at the same time. But I wanted to the thing about this storyline at the end of the day, it's authority against the free spirit. I don't want to be tied down, which WWE has gone to a lot, and they try to do it with everyone for the most part. Fucking Kevin Owens, Becky Lynch when she became the man, but I think what worked about this particular one is that everything was so realistic and the fans were so emotionally invested in Daniel Bryan against the authority that tying in Brie Bella into that, where she was defending him, and then that led to her turning on Nikki Bella. So it was really just like,
I still ain't forgive her for that.
Actually, like progressed. And also, I forgot what I was watching, but that was like the first time Stephanie McMahon had a match, her match against Brie, in years. So it was a big deal that you got Stephanie McMahon out of her power suit and in the ring wrestling in a match. We grew up in the Attitude Era. We seen Stephanie McMahon wrestle all the time. But
that
for
was
a lot of the new
best.
people, it's like, wait, this actually warranted a match, and it led to something more. People have their feelings about it, but I enjoyed it a lot. I think Brie rose to the occasion. I think Stephanie McMahon rose to the occasion, and it turned out really well. So that's one of my favorite storylines to look back on.
Sidebar, I still ain't forgive Nikki for that. I was too pissed. I'm like, she definitely turned on her sister, but it helped build them too, because remember, this is the first time they were like beefing, and the whole, I'm not going to talk about that promo because I was like, what the heck is this? But it worked because people were invested in that. And then you fast forward, they made up because Brie helps her sister win the Divas Championship.
Though? Did it work? Because it led to the promo. It led to an incredible SummerSlam moment. It led to the promo, but then they didn't really do anything with that
because they
Nikki
were consumed with
Brie.
Total Diva. Because it was meant to be for Total Divas, to be honest.
And that's the thing where it's like, did it work? Because it's like I was actually going to look forward to a Nikki versus Brie feud, and they kind of were like, yeah, about that. Let them make up. We can't have them feud.
Went there, and then they scaled it back, so it wasn't and then there was no explanation. They were just together again,
Well, no, I think they scaled it back because they were trying to give Nick. They changed it and tried to give Homegirl the Divas Championship. That's why I think they really scaled it back. Because remember, they were beefing up to the point where Nikki had won the Battle Royal, and then you could slowly start to see it be less about them beefing and more about Brie doing minion work, I guess. So you could see that that's probably why they slowed it down. But I get what you're saying. It kind of
you had an incredible SummerSlam moment that they could have built off of, and because you didn't follow up with it and just dropped it eventually, it kind of sours that moment just a little bit. We're just like, fuck, because it's like, yeah, we're finally gonna get Nikki Brie. Yeah, about that. Editors, nope, we never get this.
And it's what we were talking about before, where it's the whole tag team turning on each other gets old, because it's like you said, Justin, after a while, they don't really, if they don't go all the way and it flops, it kind of doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So many tag teams we could talk about that went through that. The Iconics dropped the ball on that potential feud. So many different things that they could have done with that. But the shock value was there, so it made me enjoy the storyline in that case, and then just getting everyone involved. Another one of my favorite storylines, and I don't know how you guys felt about it, was when it's a pandemic storyline, or what do they call it, the Thunderdome? I don't even think there was a crowd yet, to be honest. But do y'all remember when Montez Ford got poisoned?
Bro,
I forgot about that.
Everybody forgot until you brought it back up.
Because Montez is so charismatic and silly that his him fainting in the middle of a match, and how he was just super dramatic about it. It was so good. And then that's when Bianca had just came to the main roster, and I actually was one who thought it was too soon. And also, she didn't have a crowd, but I think that kind of worked for Bianca. But they were teasing a little feud because they found out it was Zelina Vega. They had the footage when she was with Andrade.
Yeah.
What was their names?
What happened to the other one? What's his name?
No, he's in
Angel Garza. What happened to him?
Him and his
Angel
brother
Garza,
together.
him and
NXT.
Yeah, they're tag team. Humberto Carrillo, yeah.
Good for them.
Because they be
they're
talking
tag
to their
team, and then they got
grandfather
bounced
and
down to
whatnot.
NXT.
I enjoyed them two
I thought
together.
that was hilarious.
You know what's funny? What I love about both of these stories that you just brought up was when you talk about the women in them, kind of going a few for their husbands, and they all lived and walked so that Brandy Rose could run when she came at Jade, And
so it's open mic night tonight?
Yeah.
It was open mic night, bitch. Yo, I'm sorry. That was also during the pandemic. I enjoyed that. That was the daily place. That was the daily place in
I enjoyed
Florida.
wrestling Twitter after that.
The Brandy on the mic was savage after that because what was it? She had the feud with the American.
Oh, you think you a black belt? Well, I'm a black bitch. Let's go.
Let's go.
I was like, oh my god. Like,
I could forgive the
Daly's debauchery. What's going on over here?
Open mic night bitch thing, but that I can't. I don't know.
I have that. I be looking at that from time to time. Just like if I need to laugh, thank you, Brandy Rhodes.
She is like, she's good on the microphone. I mean, obviously she's
I think she was just trying way too hard.
Yeah, but like she's a trained journalist, so she knows to be captivating. You know, she has the skills. You look at the Cody documentary; she is incredible. Very
Brandy Rhodes.
Yeah, you know, she's done things, and you're like I would love and understand if she wants to, you know, just be full-time mom to Liberty by all means. I would love to see her involved in WWE because I feel like they would give her the same way Cody got the justice. I feel like Brandy would get the justice, and we would see her in a better light. I feel with the production and the stuff that they're gonna go for and not go for,
could definitely make that happen.
Yeah, I feel
Cody is so over.
Right.
They do it the right way. Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, I would think they would be presented as a super power couple.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, speaking of Brandy into the WWE for the love of God. I'm gonna ask the Twitterverse how they feel about that. Speaking of
because I just wanted to make one more point. We gonna always, and I think she's the best ever right now, and right now, then for forever, give Samantha Irvin her credit, right? But Brandy Rhodes was doing her thing too when she was eating Styles. It's just that by the time she really got to hit that stride, and then social media was like Samantha Irvin, we also, because she puts the camera right there, so we get a different angle and we really get to appreciate it. Right. Even when you're not in the arena, you get to appreciate it as if you was. I believe that if Brandy was doing the same thing, and we would get that same, we would give her that same love.
Right. Like the way they got involved, the way that Samantha had to get involved in that Logan Paul feud. I'm like, nigga, I don't want to say your name either. Like you could see it on her face. She was like, I don't want to say your name.
And Logan said, say my name, say my name.
Logan was like, no, come on, say it again. Come on. I'm just like, oh God. Like I now want to slap you too. I get it.
Yeah, it did what's my name?
Is there any other power couple storylines that stuck out to you?
Power couple storylines,
or like couple duos.
OG Macho and Liz.
Oh yeah, 1000%. I was watching that SummerSlam too. We were doing the SummerSlam. We're doing that storyline with, trying to bring her back, and she was in the crowd and she was watching the match, and literally how she could see the look on her face. She's invested. She's not supposed to really care about Macho Man because he like replaced her and betrayed her and all that. And but you could see on her face she is concerned. I loved that.
From WrestleMania.
Yes, that made me watch it.
7.
Yes, and so like to have her get in the end, and shout out to Sensational Sherry too. So
and then you continue that story into SummerSlam, the match made in heaven, where Macho Man, Elizabeth, will you marry me? Oh yeah,
it started a tradition. Married. One person gets engaged. Every somebody always gets engaged at WrestleMania. I learned that. Like it's like a thing.
The funny shit is like that story comes full circle too. It's like WrestleMania 7, you have Elizabeth not trying to get involved in this Savage and Warrior, retirement match. And then a year later, when you have Savage and Flair, and then Flair's throwing Elizabeth right in the middle of the fucking feud, where it's like, yo, I got naked pictures of your wife, dude. Not only am I going to beat you for this title, I'm going to show your naked wife all over the fucking Hoosier Dome, or whatever that shit was called in Indianapolis. Yeah. And then Elizabeth, once again, has to come to the ring to defend, her man. But this time it's like, we want to see Elizabeth, like, yo, defend yourself, versus WrestleMania 7. It was like, wait, who's that in the crowd? Is that? No, that can't be. Oh shit, that was Elizabeth.
Yeah, but yeah, in some other storylines, I forgot about testing Stacy Keibler.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and, that was when Scott Steiner was
The testicles.
involved in
Oh
that
my
one.
god.
Wait, Chelsea Green, Daniel Bryan's physical therapist. I
Really?
definitely forgot about that.
Oh yeah. Listen, respect to Chelsea Green. Sis put in work to get back to where she's at. Because she's doing a lot. I forgot how much she was doing before I forgot.
Yeah, and then
I definitely spent a fan club gushing about that WrestleMania 7 match.
Yeah,
that's the only reason I didn't put that as one of my two. I was like, nah, I've done that in multiple fan clubs. I can't choose that again.
Yeah, and Macaroni, excuse me, Keith said that Triple H and Stephanie is the power couple. Absolutely,
1000%.
Real life, non-real life, kayfabe, it's definitely a power couple. Let's get in some more views from the club though. Ricardha from the past, China and Eddie. I was
we just talk about power couples. I felt like they were a couple that worked because he was just putting that Mexican love on her, got her roses. She was passenger seat to the low. Like he was just like
her a dog.
Like, I
think it was King of the Ring that he beat her in King of the Ring, and to make up for it, he bought her a dog.
Bought her a puppy?
So she cut a promo about like, yo, this is supposed to be my time, my moment. You beat me, and all of a sudden she turns around, he's holding a mamacita. I'm sorry, his puppy, and she's just like, oh,
he was like, mommy, I'm trying to take. That's why I think a lot of people like that Rhea Ripley is mommy, and they compare that because that's how Eddie Guerrero started. He was like, mommy, you do so good in the ring. I'm the be by your corner, and then he would come out with the roses and just talk about how beautiful she was. I was just like, Eddie Guerrero like another one worked to get to where he was because he literally made. And then I liked it because a lot of people didn't see China as like somebody that could be loved and shot like a woman. He brought that for her. Like he really worked that for her. I loved it.
Man,
like,
I would ask her if she was around. I'm like, no, China. Now look. After that story, why did you think we wanted to see you wrestle men again? Did you realize how good you look?
He tried to bring the femininity out of it, and then she went right back.
Like if let's be real, right? This is 2000. In 99, if you that's after the facelift. So 98, if you would have said, I got a thing for China, people was like, ew, what's wrong with you? 99, when she was, coming out there with the corporation and the corporate ministry, absolutely.
She had the bangs.
I'm mad you had to bring up the facial work, but okay.
Because that's what made.
I mean, I'm glad he brought that up instead of the other thing.
She went from.
Her cheekbones were strong.
What other thing? No,
you know what? You know what other thing?
But when Eddie, it solidified everything. Like in '99, Sable's right there. So of course she was gonna say Sable and Deborah and Tori, right? But then if you said China, you still would have been like, I mean, all right, sure. But then it's like, yeah, you solidified because what her and Eddie Guerrero was doing.
Facts. Can we talk about Keith's comment here? Because this was a big one.
That's why I always say thank you, Trish.
Yo.
Hashtag thank you, Trish.
The things that Trish was doing before she got to like wrestle, man.
That's why she the GOAT.
That's why we say thank you, Trish.
Right. So for those, someone give me a quick synopsis for those that in the chat that may not know exactly what the love triangle was. But it was tantalizing.
So from what I understand, it was like, was this before or after the quad injury?
So I could take you right there because I remember this one.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the timeline, but I know it.
I bet you do. Go ahead.
The year is 2000. We're on the road to SummerSlam 2000, and The Rock is the WWE champion. But at this point, let's be real. Sorry, KRISTA B, he's becoming an afterthought, and it's all about Triple H and Stephanie, and they're trying to figure out a number one contender because Kurt Angle is rising to the top. And then they made The Rock team up with Lita to go against Triple H and Trish. And so, Triple H had to teach Trish how to wrestle because she ain't know how to wrestle. Let's be real. She was just transitioning. Yep. And so what happened? Stephanie McMahon walks in, catches them in a compromising position. He was trying to teach her how, like, if she's getting a hammerlock, how to reverse it. and then she bent over, and then Stephanie, what the
He's
hell
putting
is
her in them holds.
and then nothing worse that could happen was that she's laid out, and then after she cost the match, and Triple H is standing over like, "What you just do?" And the Rock to hit her Triple H with a chair, and for him to fall dead square in the 69 position. That's when I learned what the 69 was, and everybody, and then of course WWE and their beautiful production, and this is right at the end of the Vince Russo era, just kept zooming in. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! And Jerry Lawler, hey! And so yeah, that was the love triangle, and Triple H was up there buying. Y'all remember he was buying Stephanie apology flowers and everything, just trying to get back.
When he bought her them apology flowers,
mm-hmm.
he was trying to teach Trish how to do a move and had her bent over, like back. He had her bent over, and I'm not talking like, oh, I'm picking up a piece of paper. No, he had
right. It
arm.
Hold on, we're gonna find that. Go ahead.
You won't have to, because I remember that vividly.
He was trying to give her that sledgehammer. And it was right after it was.
Justin!
It's all about the game and how you play it.
Talking about something out, and then she was like, "Wait, I don't know how to do like." And then Trish, she's slick. She was like, "Oh, wait, but I think it's like, is it my shoulder like this way?" And she was trying to demonstrate with her arm, and he just fell right into it and just bent her over. I said, "Oh no!" I said, "Oh no, that's not good." And then you see Stephanie walk in. I said, "Oh no, oh no."
Now somebody's just listening to this as this debuts, this show premieres on YouTube, and they just heard you just say he just bent her over.
That's exactly.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh my
What kind of content is this? No, this no good.
Can I do a quick honorable mention now that we're like on the Trish thread?
Yeah, because I'm gonna find this.
Her and Mickie James.
That, oh my god, that was good.
One of the most well done, well executed storylines for women going into Mania. Because even so, like, this might be an unpopular opinion, like the main events that women have done, a lot of times the storyline leading up to it is not like 100% perfect, in my opinion.
Right.
Like,
doesn't get enough time to cook.
And Bianca one leading into that was messy. The Flippy guy was very much involved in it. Mm-hmm. Even like Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky, there were a lot of great moments in leading up to that Mania match, but there also was a lot of that from Royal Rumble to Mania that I felt like they did the most with Becky, and a lot of it didn't like kind of hit for me.
Some of that was also Becky was like legit injured though, so she couldn't do much.
Right.
Yeah, the whole crutch thing or whatever. But with the Mickie and Trish thing, I feel like it was so done and so well executed from start to finish. And not to mention, I think it's one of the most impactful debut storylines, because that's how we meet Mickie James. She is a crazy fan who's obsessed with Trish, and she comes over the barricade. That's how we're introduced to Mickie James, and she's still doing it. And she is a trailblazer in the industry. So I think we definitely got to mention that storyline up there. And again, hashtag thank you, Trish.
You know what's crazy that I didn't realize until like someone actually had to tell me this back? So WrestleMania 32 was the triple threat with Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky. That was the first time they had a women's title defended at WrestleMania in the singles triple threat match since Trish and Becky. And I was like, wait, there's no way that could be actually true. And it's like, yeah.
Because I remember in New Orleans when they had that Divas Battle Royal with even the Divas Champion involved, I remember Michael Cole specifically saying that was the first time the Divas Championship was even defended at WrestleMania. And I was like, that can't be true. And I think about it every time the Divas Champion has either been involved in like a mixed tag or like a guest appearance tag. I was like, wow, that's crazy to me.
That's wild. Tag matches or just
there you go. And you talking about me opening up YouTube. Imagine somebody opening up YouTube today.
I was rushing, so I couldn't find the greatest quality. Yeah. And I wanted to use the video, but I didn't want to take a risk. But yeah, that's how it went down.
Go lower, Hunter.
Yo,
and Stephanie was screaming, like she was like, "This is what you're doing. You just are you kidding me?" And she like threw the bouquet.
You're like, Steph, have you seen fucking Trish Stratus, the manager of T and A?
But you know where fast forward to? Remember that Kurt Angle was trying to get his lick with Stephanie. I don't care what nobody say. Like, he kissed her unconscious on the couch. Listen. And Angle's about to come out. And shout out to Kurt Angle, because his documentary hits Labor Day weekend. But child, when I tell you that had me in a chokehold, I was like, huh?
No, you hit it right on the head, because he pulled the ultimate boy move where, see, you know, he cheating on you. Come here. That's all Kurt Angle did. He was
in what do they say when somebody waiting? He was in the damn, what's the term? Somebody help me out. I need somebody to help me out. He was waiting somewhere. It's like a term that people say. He was waiting in the shadows. He's waiting in the shadows. Because he was every time he just popped up out of nowhere.
Oh, the rebound?
Yeah. He was like, all right. The boss is about to break up with Triple H.
I have a question.
I can get mine.
For you guys and everyone that's in the fan club. Shout out to Keith, because his comments are hilarious. What is the best, most executed relationship storyline? Because I think about this a lot for some reason, just because I love Bianca and Montez. They're a superpower couple, and they're very vocal about how they don't want to mix their marriage and their relationship in a storyline. I'm very critical of a lot of relationship storylines, like Becky and Steph. I hated that when they were like kind of making that a thing. But what is the one that like really hit? Like, I mean, I think my go-to would say Macho Man and Elizabeth, but what are some other ones that you guys really enjoyed that ended up being?
I feel like John and Nikki worked, because like it don't make that face, Justin. It worked,
like in the storyline, like it worked.
Yeah, because the fans were already used to, and Patricia, you say it all the time, that Total Divas brought a lot of fans to wrestling, and I agree with that, because in the sense too, like, you got to see a completely different side of John Cena. Like, I was watching Total Divas not for nothing. I had no idea John Cena was that much of a clown. Like, one episode of Total Bellas, he was excited about a goddamn rug. So I was like, he's a normal human being, likes to have fun, and he's this outside. But people were really involved with their relationship because of this show. And then you tie it into the most must-see couple in sports entertainment, which is Maurice and Miz, who also are on the brink of starting their own reality TV show. Like, it went in a perfect full circle moment to where, okay, they're tying in Total Divas, because people at the point were like, all right, we're tired of Total Divas. Why is this here? There will always be fans of it, but a lot of people weren't understanding the tie of it, and they tied into it. I actually like that. Listen, I thought that it was kind of like we talk about people getting engaged at WrestleMania, like Macho and Elizabeth, but then you have fast forward, they do the same thing. I felt like that was cute. It worked. It worked for what it's supposed to give.
The thing is about Macho and Elizabeth, though, I feel like it did what it kind of just like bleeded over to real life, even though, like, we know now they was already broken up. But I think one that we might have forgotten about is, I don't know if y'all want to say his name, celebrated a birthday, but WWE recognized his birthday, but not his twin's birthday. Jimmy Uso and Naomi, with the whole Mandy Rose of it all. You know,
that was
yes, that was good.
What I loved about that, and shout out to KRISTA B, is like anytime we recorded episodes during that time, like we had to take the time out because she was so disgusted with Mandy Rose. And I also love storylines that, shout out to my dad, that captivate him, because he's a casual fan that just watches every week, and just, he's not in the IWC, so he's just like, this is interesting to me when I watch it on TV every week. So yeah,
goals.
I kind of envy him. I'm about to say I kind of like envy him for that, but he was so into it as well, because they really went there with it. Because it also, like, a lot of these storylines have to do with like how well is WWE going to commit to it, and they did. They had them in the hotel room. They had like, Naomi
busted up in that hotel room. I was like, Lord, what in the Family and Praises this? She just like,
she didn't have to be a heel, but she could still get,
she gonna defend her man.
Exactly. And I remember, shout out to Chad from View from the Top Rope. We did a show and we was talking about when WWE was kind of like, they was getting ready to go a little edgy, right? If you look at Mandy Rose, the way she was dressed, they was very conservative, because how she would if it was today, they probably would go a little bit further. And he was like, "Look, I just want to see equality. If they gonna do that, let Finn Balor be out there half naked so the women can go crazy." But what the thing is when you look at the way it was executed, and it really had you thinking like, Jimmy, you better not. And he was like, man, but he talking to his brother, and he's like, and I'm thinking like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? You really about to no? But I thought that was a well executed, and considering how like she would be with them, like y'all remember when she teased rest in peace Brody Lee.
Yeah.
She got the
twerk. The cheeks.
Yo, that joint was on. The gifs was jiffing.
They let her do that on live TV. I was like,
rewind.
Cheeks moving.
Yeah, and even he was like, and I was like, wow, because that's like that was like Attitude Era-esque. And it's been a while since we've seen anything like that before. Because I mean, Maria Kanellis was doing it on the Indies. Every time Matt Bennett was in a match, she would you see all the gifs with her and Carl Anderson. Deborah McMichael, even though her and Jeff Jarrett, she was just like, but that was the thing Deborah would do: go up there, unbutton her shirt. Me too.
We
Shotgun Saturday night.
Yeah,
I know. Marie don't get her flowers enough either. I feel
not at all.
She doesn't get her flowers enough. Seriously, because even like her, and I don't care what nobody say, her and her husband like ran Ring of Honor. They were like the pretty people. Like they were part of keeping Ring of Honor alive in a big way.
A good solid part. Yeah,
yes, they were a good solid part of keeping it alive.
Too far, but yeah, they was definitely. It was definitely.
Brian's like, I don't agree, but I do. I don't agree, but part. Yeah, gotcha.
I respect them as a couple and what they've done in the business. Maria Kanellis does a lot for women's wrestling, advocating for it, and she did a lot with Ring of Honor later on. I also was one of the. I would love to hear everybody's thoughts on this because I was one of the few that enjoyed her storyline with her husband when she came back to WWE, because she was one of the first like actively pregnant like wrestlers that actually was like in storylines mixing up with people, and they were able to add her husband. And I like that they kind of explored the whole like her being like the dominant one in the relationship.
That breadwinner.
It was brave at the time, and like knowing me and just like what I just love what it represented, to have the bravery to have that kind of storyline in this landscape was brave. I don't know, like it maybe wasn't the right time for it, but I loved everything about that.
I'll say this: the thing about Mike Bennett, in my opinion, right person a lot of times, wrong timing, and it seemed like that happened a lot with his career. And I don't want to like go in on him because a lot of it's not his fault, and I'm gonna give him credit where credit is due. Give him his flowers because he shared that he had dealt with depression and he overcame that. And I think about his time in Ring of Honor in 2012. There was a few podcasters that I would listen to, and it was when I tell you people that would go to those shows. What I respected about them, they didn't like WWE, but they never watched or criticized it because they said it's not for me. They love Ring of Honor, but they didn't really care for Mike Bennett because they always felt he was a WWE guy. Like he had charisma. He did, Ring of Honor. It was like that quick, fast paced, 5-star, bang, bang, bang. He would go out there and kind of tell stories, laugh with the crowd. He had kind of like the longer hair before he cut his hair. And I was just like, yo, if he could have, like, that character could have been in today's NXT or even WWE, he would have thrived. And so I always felt bad for him. Then by the time he got there, that's when things started, I guess, really not like things mentally just wasn't going well for him. But I thought for him, it was a huge credit. I love the fact that he didn't have an ego and didn't mind going out there as being Michael Bennett Kanellis or Michael Kanellis Bennett, because people would have anybody else like nah, and that's why you see in some cases where certain wrestling couples work. Macho Man DDP said Macho Man told him keep your girl in the locker room, and he did it. And what happened to DDP? Unfortunately, Kimberly Page got taken from him. And so it's just like certain things, and I've seen it so many times, even on the indies, but I think that this was I really enjoyed that story with Michael and Maria.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like WWE definitely should have given him a chance. Like I saw what they were trying to do. Even the whole like he took Maria's last name. I like that. That was something different. But I feel like it got lost in translation somewhere. Like maybe to where I don't know whether it's because she got pregnant and they didn't know if he can carry by himself. That was a big thing too, because you have to realize in couples, there's times where they work as a couple, but if they don't think that one person can carry on without the other, it doesn't work. So I think that's kind of what happened there. In my review, in my opinion. But I think Mike Bennett is talented beyond measurable compared. Like watching him at Ring of Honor doing that show, like all eyes were on him. He's talented even in the tag team. But I feel like, once they don't see where the potential is without your significant or without that valet around, it doesn't really go according to plan. If that makes
He's
any
like
sense.
the Al Snow. That's who he's like.
Right. Right.
That's a very, very good comparison. Can we get into Get Your Podcast, the Kofi WWE title story? Like that was a very historic match. It was a very like
the feud that
we
happened
were
by
so invested.
accident.
But let's get into the
that's
intricacies of what the storyline was, because for me that's what sold it was, and I'm just gonna say one line is Daniel Bryan calling him a B+ player. The poeticness of that, the way it comes full circle.
The full circle.
Like, I don't think that could have been done any better. Like, Kofi finally winning the world championship at WrestleMania. Like, I wouldn't have predicted or booked in my mind, fantasy booked it to be against Daniel Bryan, but I'm so fucking glad it was. And I want to know what y'all favorite part of that storyline was.
Ooh. Man, the match. It was one of the perfect wrestling matches that I like the way you see wrestling because it was old school. The finisher, one time, and they built towards it. And it's usually, I remember when I got my TV, that was the first match I put on. I wanted to make sure like the HD was proper and everything. As soon as I got it, and it's funny because I remember talking to Dwayne, and I said, "Bro, the first match I had to put on was KofiMania," and he's like, "Yo, I did the same thing." When you look at just like how everything, and from the actual, if you take away just the match, but just to sit down. I was at the SmackDown Go Home show, and Daniel Bryan sitting there at the contract table, just saying, "You listening to these people?" I did the same thing, and it didn't get me nowhere.
Yo, when he said that, the way I flipped my remote and I'm like, I'm done with this guy. Like you got some like, and that's the reaction you're supposed to have with the storyline. The way Daniel Bryan pissed me off. I said, you got a lot of motherfuckers. I said, where is Stephanie? I said, I know she wrote this. This is just the highest level of disrespect that I've ever heard in my entire life. You got nerve. Like when the way he even said B+, I was like, you got a lot of nerve. The audacity, the gumption, the gall, of it all. But it was beautiful. I'm just gonna say, like, he gets full credit for making that what it was. Because I know people were looking at him like, "Yo, are you for real? Like, are you serious?"
The main thing I was happy that they didn't do was go into the Booker T and Triple H of it all.
Yeah,
because I'm watching with a microscope. I'm like, he better not say nothing like people like you or your hair or anything. And Daniel Bryan showed the intelligence and the intellect. He didn't have to go there. And so, just like to put a cap on this, the one thing I will always remember about this is going to the store the next day wearing a WrestleMania shirt or a Kofi Kingston shirt. And a white lady came up to me and says, "Are you going tomorrow?" And I was like, "Nah." She was like, "Man," she's like, "Kofi, I hope he wins it. I really do." And I was just like, everybody wants Kofi to win, and you was nervous and everything. It was everything you want in a wrestling match.
And then it was like one of those moments where it's like people root for people in the back, but you like
Mhm.
collectively, like it but way before even what the camera could show you, like collectively a lot of people who like worked in the past, even worked in the present. Like I will never get out of my head MVP and Shad
Mhm.
literally in tears, because it's like that's the type of person you root for. Like Kofi Kingston, imagine, like think of everything that Kofi Kingston had really went through. Like he was attacked, he was
He was
literally giving
Jamaican.
he was
Yeah.
Jamaican man. Like he lost his accent. He was a tag team with almost
Ah,
everybody.
yo, that's
He
the
was the
worst
tag team with
example
everybody.
of
He was
ever.
Intercontinental champion. He was a high flyer. He was your main attraction. Like, why not? Like, it was just one of those moments after a while that was like, why not? And then it's so great for him to have Big E and Xavier Woods in his corner, because they were just like the perfect
That's
for
what made the moment, was how
that made
everything
the moment.
worked
Like,
for
and
him.
then having Big E like throw that piece of shit
Xavier was ugly crying.
biochemical title in the trash and give him a brand new
Hey.
one. That title was ugly.
It was
Anyway,
not.
it
I
was
love
ugly.
that
It was
one.
not.
Yeah,
It
if I
was
can get
ugly.
it, they don't sell it no more. But I'm telling you, if I can get that one,
I
Good.
love it. Oh my god, I love it so much. I would love it. Oh, I love
Good.
it
Good.
was so Daniel Bryan.
it. Yeah. It really was, but I like
They
the
make one
design
AEW on Blaming You.
personally, and
Anyway.
also how dope is it to have an actual environmentally friendly championship belt? That shit is actually like type lit. But what I liked about it too was it had nothing to do with Kofi being booked in like a racially charged like character.
Right.
It was the fact that we have watched Kofi Kingston, the athlete, the wrestler, the sports entertainer, do his thing all of these years and get the opportunity that he deserved in a random ass way, because he wasn't even supposed to be in that gauntlet match. I think Ali got injured or something like that, and he was put into that, and that's the only reason
That's
we got
the
Kofi. Not, I shouldn't say the
story.
only reason, obviously, but the circumstances led to
Mhm.
KofiMania in the perfect way, and he took it and capitalized on it, which I really, really, truly, truly appreciate it so much. And that's what made that moment even better, because it happened so organically. I don't think there's anything more organic than KofiMania, like how that really happened.
And then think about what it culminates to now. Like we all talk about, like it's interesting how people are slowly railing behind LA Knight.
Mm-hmm.
That type of storyline to me, and then Daniel Bryan,
Right.
even before that with Daniel Bryan and with Dolph
Mhm.
Ziggler and all these wrestlers, like it don't have to be what the company want. There's people that are always going to have their opinion, but when
Right.
they're behind somebody, they are behind somebody. Like
Right.
it was amazing to see people like finally, because I know they tried to push him, like he was on your cereal box. That was another thing too. Like he was good enough to be in a
Mm-hmm.
Scooby-Doo movie. He was good
Mm-hmm.
enough to be on your cereal boxes. He was good enough to be doing your action figure commercial.
Yep.
He was good enough to do all these things, but he wasn't good enough to be champion. So now
Mhm.
it was kind of like, okay, it was never to me a color thing. It was like a, he deserves this. This is the icing on the cake for him. Do whatever you want with him after. Let him go back to doing like Bootio commercials or Fruit Loops commercials or more Slim Jim. Like do whatever you want with him, but like he deserved that.
You put him
Yeah.
in the ring with Stone Cold at WrestleMania 32.
Exactly.
You
Like
don't
think
put just
about it.
anybody in the
He was
ring
in
with
the
that
ring with
legend.
Roddy Piper. Like
Roddy
after
Piper.
that, like he's good enough for all these things. He's good enough to be champion.
Mhm.
See, and for me, it was like P was talking about the organicness. It's the fans that really made that story for me, because the
Mhm.
fans made it from day one. Like, yo, it's not just Kofi. It's been like 10, 11 years. Why has he ain't gotten a title match? It's a matter of like the fans got behind it. Like, yeah, why the fuck hasn't he gotten a title match? Like,
Right.
what have you
Really,
gone through this?
that was
But
very
then
Right.
eye opening. Like, wait,
but
oh
then it's
shit, that
also,
never
you have
happened.
that entire storyline and that entire build. And again, this is a happy accident. If Mustafa Ali does not get injured, Kofi Kingston is not in that limited chamber
Right.
match. It's just like, yo, you got a great run on SmackDown. It stays there. But the fans, like, yo, if Mustafa can't go, let's get Kofi in there. And all of a sudden, it's Kofi and Bryan, the last two. And now the fans are like willing Kofi to win his title elimination chamber. It doesn't happen. Fans are still behind them. And then you see it build and build and build with the story of like Kofi's talking to Vince McMahon. The fans are right behind him. All right, we're gonna put New Day through this gauntlet match. The fans are literally like praying, hoping and praying, like, yo, get through this fucking gauntlet match. Go through all these tag teams and whatnot. And then you get to Mania, and it's just like, yo, Kofi wins, we will go back there and fuck you up. And mind you, the fans are getting it.
No,
And mind
it
you,
was.
if you
It looked like it was really
but
about
if
to
you
be
look
about
back
that life.
to but if you look back to that same year where it's like, yo, we did the same exact thing to Becky Lynch. We will Becky Lynch into that triple threat because we didn't want Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey, even though the company's been wanting that for years. We were like, yo, Becky Lynch wins this Royal Rumble, or we will fucking go back there and fuck you up. Becky Lynch gets in this main event, or we will be on right. But we're also doing the same thing for Kofi, and the fans didn't have to do that because it's like you're getting your Becky Lynch match, you're getting what you want with the Becky Lynch thing, you're getting what you want with the Seth Rollins Brock Lesnar thing. But nah, we also want Kofi not only in his WrestleMania match, which also salute to Kevin Owens, because if Kevin Owens doesn't play ball, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go fall back and go chill at home, because Daniel Bryan not only wanted that match with Kofi Kingston, but that was supposed to be Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens. So Kevin Owens also has to stand aside and be
That's
like,
true.
yo, my name's Paul, but that's between y'all. And then,
Yeah.
like Brian said, is the booking, because now we have Triple H and Booker T in the back of our heads, where it's like, are they about to fuck us again, like they did back then, and make Kofi go through more hoops and ladders? Or is this going to finally be the time where it's like you're finally righting a lot of wrongs? And especially for us, because we're all people of color, we've seen this happen time and time again, where it's like WWE does not like putting over people of color as their top champions. So with Kofi, it was like, we're sitting on hands and knees because like we want him to win, but at the same time, it's like we've seen you
Right.
fuck us more than once with the guys and the girls, because we've seen you do it to Sasha numerous times too. So for
But and
Kofi to
then
get that 1, 2, 3, and then like Brian said, like all you gotta do is hit his finisher once. We don't have to get multiple kickouts. We don't need multiple Trouble in Paradises. We don't need multiple SOSs like it's a fucking Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar spam match.
this
Hold
is
on,
true.
breaking news. AEW breaking news. Santana and Ortiz is back, and they will join the Bullet.
I knew it.
The beat
I
down.
knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I want to say I knew it. Who I can't remember. God bless who had a conversation with. I was having a conversation. I found out there's a coworker that watches AEW. Like he's been to Grand Slam and everything. He said he's like, "Yo, where's Ortiz at?" And I was like, "What if he comes back?" And he was like, "Nah, but like, what if he really comes back?" I knew it. I knew it. And you got Eddie Kingston that match too. I'm done. Like,
yeah, but
My
they was
boys are
taking
back.
look like a crane or a crane or a hook, you know, the thing with the hook that you, and they was pulling Ray Phoenix mask.
oh, they were pulling his mask.
They was trying to. I'm like, yo, what the heck? Like they are the beat down. Why can't I never get their name right?
Is it the beat? Is it the I forgot what it's
Blackpool
called.
Combat Club.
Yeah, Blackpool.
I'm like, I got a shirt and everything, but you know, it's not an NWO shirt. So.
But just to top off the Kofi Kingston storyline thing, think of the doors that also opened. Like last night, we had two African American men go against each other for the North American Championship for the first time ever. That's huge. In that brand. You also think of like Big E's run. You think of like the amazing run that Carmelo Hayes is happening. Like it's just it did more than what it was supposed to, and I'm happy it did.
What, KofiMania?
Yes, it did way more than what it was
1,000%.
supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we got the table for 3 now with, you know, when they had Big E, Bobby Lashley, and Kofi, you know, and guess what? Soon, one day, I'm standing on this bandwagon, Xavier Woods.
Oh, 1000%.
Big E say he wants to see him as champion, so your top guy.
If Big E says it, then we just gotta agree.
Of course. Of course.
I have a question. Speaking of Kofi, I enjoyed his storyline with Randy Orton when he was a solo star.
You talking
Which one?
about
He had two.
The one that where they had that I want to say no DQ match
with MSG?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Back so when Kofi was coming up.
Yeah. Because I feel like that kind of made him, and it was like, okay, we know you could work basically, and then luckily he was able to find New Day.
He had to definitely go out there and earn Randy Orton's respect. You know, Randy Orton's the top guy. Always, you know, what did he tell Drew McIntyre? The reason why he got chance after chance because he's just that good. So yeah, I agree.
Same.
But you know, I liked when they ran it back because you always felt that Randy could take the title from him. And there's not a lot of title reigns that happens where you're like, oh man, this guy could lose. But every single match that Kofi had, you felt, yo, he might lose the belt. He might lose. You thought he was gonna lose the next night when they said we was gonna have a winner take all match. You thought he was gonna lose in the first title defense. So that's what I loved about that title reign now. And that's all I'll say about that.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. Justin, what's some of your favorite storylines over the years?
Oh, it's my turn?
He having a moment.
Hey,
His boys just came back.
His boys just came in. He had to roll up the sleeves a little bit.
I did, because it's like, yo, I didn't know we were gonna get this. I thought it was gonna be like Jesus and Mero. We're not gonna see the reunion, but fucking Santana Ortiz. A match made in Bronx heaven. Thank you, Lord, Father God. Hallelujah. Was Medea saying hallelujah?
Hallelujah.
So is it hope that we can get them back?
I'm hoping and praying, but I don't know, man. They kind of ended on some rocket turns. But if Santana Ortiz can get back, so can Jesus and Mero. The streets fucking need it.
Yeah.
But for my storyline, do I keep it just in WWE or do I go outside WWE?
I think it's time to go outside.
It's like, all right, so I'm throwing my curveball because
hopefully.
So I'll do a curveball because my other one, obviously, we show Sasha and Bayley a lot of love. Yesterday was the anniversary, the 8-year anniversary of TakeOver Brooklyn. We showed them a lot of love and stuff like that. But for my storyline, we're gonna go to New Japan Pro Wrestling because we're going to my favorite wrestler, New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Wait, hold on. Let me put my hand underneath my chin because I love when Justin talks New Japan Pro. It's like watching. It's like watching a documentary. So go ahead.
And this is one of my favorite feuds because it's not a man versus a man. It's not two wrestlers feuding each other. It's a man versus a championship belt, a title actually. And I'm talking about Tetsuya Naito versus the Intercontinental Championship. So let's rewind back to earlier in Naito's career where he wins G1. He's supposed to main event Wrestle Kingdom, I believe, 8. But the fans aren't with him. The fans are like, oh, we ain't feeling you and Okada. We kind of want you out of the main event. They actually, for the first time ever, and the only time that's ever happened in Wrestle Kingdom history, they actually voted Naito out of the main event in favor of the IC title that year. Only time that's ever happened. So Naito's always had a resentment towards the IC title because of that shit. Because it's like, I'm the only person that's ever happened to. No one else that's never happened. So when Naito comes back from excursion, becomes Los Ingobernables Naito, and gets hot over like Rover and whatnot, and becomes Intercontinental Champion, he does the unthinkable. He just throws the fucking belt in the air. It's just like, fuck this belt. I'm out. And so this entire feud of like, I don't know what's going to break first. My hatred towards this IC title because you cost me a main event. The only time this ever happened, I have to wear that embarrassment that's only ever happened to me. Or this belt is going to fully break. So you see Naito kicking the shit out of this belt, dragging it on the fucking floor, kicking it to the ring, throwing it against the ring post, throwing it in the ring, throwing it off the fucking steps. He wins a match and defends his IC title. He just throws it in the air and walks away like, fuck this belt. I don't even want to carry this shit.
That's wild.
To where Tanahashi gets involved and like, yo, you're not about to disrespect this fucking Intercontinental Championship, this historical title, this lineage, the people that's worn it. Like, you're disrespecting the fuck out of this. And Naito's like, I don't give a shit because this is about me. And like, y'all fucking disrespecting me and turning your backs on me. So fuck all this shit. And the reason why I bring this up because this happened at the same time of Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada, which is why we never talk about Naito and Tanahashi's feud, which is one of the greatest feuds in New Japan's history. It just so happens that every time they put on a banger, Okada and Omega immediately followed it right after and was like, try and top this. Oh, we will. So it's kind of like it's a forgotten feud, but it's so gorgeous because it's like Tanahashi's trying to win that belt to bring back the prestige and to keep Naito from fucking breaking this belt. Like, Naito's literally breaking this belt. This belt is coming apart at the seams. And Naito's like, I don't give a fuck because I hate this belt. Like, that should have been my main event. That should have been my moment. And this fucking thing stole it from me. So that, for me, was my favorite storyline, was just Naito just being, like, so disrespectful. Like, literally, you can pull this up on YouTube with just him just throwing this shit, trying to break it, throwing it in the air, throwing it in the crowd, kicking this shit to the ring. It's like, at some point, something's going to give. And then Tanahashi winning that belt back and be like, finally, we can actually bring this home to promise and whatnot. That's my favorite storyline because it's so forgotten because Okada Omega gets all the glory, all the praise. Everyone talks about that and forgets like, that same year, we also had this going on. And this was such a fantastic feud and fantastic story because I've never seen a man feud over a belt before to that extent.
Rude.
Rude put it nicely.
Rude. Welcome to the fan club. What's your
welcome to fan club,
favorite
babe.
wrestling storyline of all time? I don't know if even Black Thoughts put his in there, but I want to know what his
No,
is.
Shout out to other
he's
heels
like,
in the building.
he's like, Naito beat the shit out of that IC title, and that's putting it nicely. Like, the only thing Naito didn't do was like pull down his pants and take a shit in the middle of the ring with it. Like, that's literally the only thing he didn't do to that belt.
Oh, the build up.
See, that's so intriguing because I kind of want to go on YouTube.
Y'all know how I feel about my man, so I'm gonna go silent for a little bit.
Destructive.
My man's on TV. I'll be right back.
Thing.
Yeah, he was being problematic, but for good reason. It's like, bro, like everyone dreams of main event in Wrestle Kingdom, just like everyone dreams about main event in WrestleMania, and that got stolen from me, from the fans, and from this title because that feud was hotter at that time than Naito main eventing Wrestle Kingdom. And he's like, of course I'm gonna have fucking resentment towards this shit. I don't care if I'm the IC champion. Here, you take the fucking belt. I don't give a shit about this.
Real quick,
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, we want to touch on what Black Thought said. I remember when MVP was talking about when he left WWE and he got his release. Talking to, and this is the first time I remember, like, this is like when you couldn't get interviews so easily, like podcast interviews, like just finding them. And I remember he said that he talked to John Laurinaitis and told him how much that was his dream, was to be the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. And I remember thinking, like, wait, they have Intercontinental Champions outside WWE? Because as a child, I thought that was like a WWE term made up. I just was like, oh, okay, PR. All right, but yeah, so
I didn't know that he was the first IWGP Intercontinental Champion, but that shows you just the lineage and history of that title, where it's just like, New Japan, you really had to get rid of that fucking IC title. Like, that's like WWE getting rid of the IC title. And it's like, bro, you lose the lineage of Bret Hart winning it, Roddy Piper. That's the only belt Roddy Piper ever holds. And so on and so forth. Bret Hart, British Bulldog, main event, SummerSlam 92 over that belt. And it's like, yeah, let's just do away with this.
Well, Piper could have been world champion, but ...
He who shall not be named, who's in the box with his yellow and red tights. That person?
Piper didn't want to do business. He didn't want to lose clean. But but yeah, you those are definitely some good stories. One of the ones that it was one in here I saw that I wanted to touch on. Oh yeah, what Keith said. The 18-month bill, Hogan versus Sting, 90, starts in like 97, 96, 97.
96.
Yeah, and then gets up, the way that was one that they was writing in the local newspapers. That's the thing people don't talk about. Like, that's how big that feud was. Like, they was writing about that in the local newspapers. And honestly, Sting was a big deal. Don't get me wrong. WCW was a big deal. But this took him to another height, another level, commercially and, his character-wise. Just because after a while, like, if you really think about it, having Sting in once Hogan got there, it was like, well, do you still need Sting around? If Hogan would have remained babyface, but because then when they kind of went into the real reality of it, that's when Scott Hall, the genius that he say he is, would give Sting the idea, like, to paint his face that way, and boom, now you got a whole new ready-made feud, and to be able to go 18 months and still have people hooked. Do y'all think we could do that nowadays outside of Bloodline?
It depends on the circumstances, because I say this with the nice way I can say possible about bullying. The ICW is so picky what the fuck they want to see that they're at the point where they think they can dictate how a storyline is gonna go.
That's true.
Like, that's the issue, because beforehand it was, we're gonna listen to you a little bit, but now we've got the control. Now it's, because we see something going in a complete direction, we're gonna go in that direction. But then you remember, like, this is a fickle type of crowd that we're dealing with here. Like, keep in mind, these are the same people that complained about storylines. The storylines not go anywhere. fast forward to the bloodline being too long and too boring and not having a purpose, even though Paul Heyman told us. And that's why I think, like I said, Paul Heyman said bottom of the third, because y'all be wanting a good baseball game, but y'all also be waiting for the baseball game to end. And you see it. You see it all the time. And that's the only thing I feel like that's blocking. Other than that, I think we're ready, but it's just like, if we can go back to like, all right, we get it a little bit. Let's give them a little bit of what they want, but let's do it our way. We'd be fine. We'd be totally fine.
Yeah, and I agree. Go ahead.
I was gonna just piggyback off Seindole because she said it 100%. It's like, if not for the fans being so wishy-washy with, we want long storylines, but we want shorter reigns, but we want long reigns, but we want Rhea to be dominant, but we don't like the way that she's just squashing people left and right, but we don't like this. And it's like, y'all just don't know what the fuck you want from day to day, hour to hour. Like,
because even if I could just like taking it out, like Tiffany Stratton, I feel Tiffany Stratton, like people are now online saying, oh, she's giving Divas era. But like a month ago, they were complaining that the Divas era didn't get its flowers enough. What lane are y'all in? Because you have to understand, not everybody could be like a dominant wrestler. They can't be like a built. They can't be all mommies, because y'all will get tired of their all being mommies. Y'all will get tired of them being a bunch of Rhea Ripleys. Like, and I made a joke. I was like, you need hot bitches for this to work. And Tiffany Stratton is one of them hot bitches. I'm sorry. You need to tilt the balance of it, but y'all complain too much. So now if she turn around and she start dressing like, for example, she start dressing like Rhea Ripley, or she start flexing like Raquel Rodriguez, y'all gonna complain about that. Because y'all don't know what lane y'all want to drive in. You want to drive in the middle, you want to slow down. Like, you don't know what lane you want to be in, and that's the issue here. And then you think that they're gonna listen to everything that y'all say, and it don't work like that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I mean, we're not gonna change the IWC here tonight. That's why
we're not.
That's why it's like,
that movement. You're right.
It is what it is.
You need variety. It's like, look at your champions in WWE. You have Rhea Ripley, who was dominant. I disagree with Black Thoughts, because her being so dominant and just squashing people is gonna make that much more bigger of a deal when she fucking loses that title.
Yeah,
and then you have Io Sky, who just cashed in that Money in the Bank briefcase, just became champion. Now you get someone other than Bianca Belair, who had that for a year. Now you get someone other than Asuka, who we love Asuka. We've seen Asuka champion numerous times. Now you get someone that's not named Charlotte Flair with that fucking title. And then now you have Tiffany Stratton, who's a fucking, sometimes we love burgers. Sometimes we love pizza. Sometimes we love steak. And now you have one of each.
Again, and then you think about the fact that people were tired of her too. Because people were tired of Bianca. People were probably going to get tired of Mommy sooner than later. People are going to be like, already. Yeah, they're ready. But these are the same people that were cheering, like, when they're going to get a chance. What are you doing with this? It's too fickle out here for us to have what we used to have. Yeah, if we get the fickleness out, it's not going to change. I agree with you. You can't change it overnight. But like, you need somebody that's going to be like, all right, we like your suggestion. Thank you. Come again. That's it.
Touch everything grass, be okay. Get laid, calm your tits.
We're taking suggestions. Go back to the suggestion box, and instead of listening and doing the instruction, like, go back to the suggestion box. It's fine. Put some cards there, pick one a month, and then keep it moving. Because sooner or later they'll get tired of it, and then you'll have to find the next thing. So,
one storyline that I didn't get tired of that I wish they did more of. Yeah, I did enjoy that storyline.
That man was punning the entire family. Stephanie caught it, Vince caught it, Linda caught it.
He was like, "Oh, Vince, you're making me mad. Kick. Oh, Stephanie, how you to kick? Oh, Linda, thank you. Your grandkids will be kick." Like,
is that your grandmother? Kick. This going to everybody.
But Pete, what did you say was about the storyline?
No, one that I didn't get tired of was, and I wish they did more of it, was Broke Corbin. I don't know if love that, because me and
like Broke
loved that shit. We thought it was so funny because he committed. He grew his hair out. He would wear the same dirty shirt to TV, it was so good. And because everyone already hated him, the fact that it was like self-deprecating kind of just fit so well, because it was just like, yo, we don't like you anyway, and now you broke. And he would just say some of the funniest shit.
Yo, you
like,
got
I really
$5 so I can
wanted
go
them to
eat
do more with
dinner?
that.
Yo, that man had mustard in a 3-pattern drip. Talking about some. All I cared for was a hot dog, and the mustard got on the only shirt I have left. Mind you, it was a ripped ass shirt. Like, so you got an only ripped shirt, and now there's mustard on it. Like, how
bank was calling,
the bank was calling,
his car repossessed. He was asking other wrestlers for money. Y'all remember that? He asked John Cena for like $1. Yo,
one thing about
what's so great about it was you saw his commitment to it, and he talked about even going to like pick up his kids from school, not shaving, and he's like, "Not like I'm doing this for work," and that's what I could appreciate, because when you think about like Baron Corbin was somebody who, you know, he came from football, he was in the NFL, and then he transitioned to the business, and
Golden Gloves too.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, I gotta verify the source, but I heard that, like, you know, he bought the Undertaker's house, you know, so you could just imagine just those conversations that they was having and the advice he was getting. I don't think they just making that transaction. Hey, here's the keys, here's the money. You know, I'm pretty sure like he was learning from him too. And you see that, yeah, a lot of people didn't like him. It took him a while to get going. But you know, people liked him from the beginning. You know, they some Corbin stands. It's kind of like Omos. You know, you got the Homo sapiens, and
Shout
that's the
out to
beauty.
Noah.
Yeah, shout out to Noah. You know, and that's the thing about wrestling, when you can find a lot of people, and sometimes it takes 1, 2, 3 different versions. I mean, Kevin Nash was Vinny Vegas at one point. You know, he was Oz at one point. Shout out to Dusty Rhodes. You know, everything Dusty touched wasn't gold. Let's be real.
That's true.
So, you know, and the thing with Corbin, he found something that worked, and then him and Pat McAfee, that right there, like you said, what was it, bum ass Corbin? That was hilarious.
Bum ass Corbin, yes.
Yeah, I agree with Jermaine's like comment. Like, he is very underrated. Like, even his work now at NXT, like the fact that he was like, you know what, I'm scrapping it all. We're getting rid of King Corbin. We're getting rid of Constable. We're getting rid of bum ass Corbin. We're no more happy Corbin
too, though.
I did like Constable Corbin. Like, it held the pan. That was another thing that like held the pandemic down towards an event. It held it down. But like him getting rid of it and going back to like if you watch him on Unbreakable, like he was very much like, I'm here to make moves and be a star. I don't care what's going on. I'm gonna sacrifice this. I'm gonna sacrifice that. Like, it very much now he's back at NXT, and it's back to that. Like, he's a like, now I want to say like a power, but he's like rogue. He's just here to whoop ass and show you like listen, you got a problem with me. The square circle's right over there. We could take care of it. I don't even got time to talk to you. Because I ain't even got time to talk to you. You want to handle it, we could take it outside, out there, in the ring, on 4 corners. That I like. That I like, and I appreciate. He's very underrated. And in this NXT run, again, hopefully it leads to a second chance that leads to something better. Because he's one of those.
Because you can always put him on TV and execute, like just like Jermaine said, like he's like the Miz and Dolph Ziggler, where you can fit them in and they'll know how to make it work for, you know, what they're gonna do. So to close out, I want to know, each of you guys in the crew and also everyone in the fan club tonight, shout out to our VIPs, what is the first storyline that you ever got invested in wrestling?
I will go last. I have a good one. I want to go last.
So I'll just get mine out the way, because me and Krista B talk about our origin stories in wrestling all the time. But it was Stephanie. I remember a lot of them, but the one that really captured me the most, that I was the most obsessed with, is a toss between Stephanie McMahon getting kidnapped and the whole way they introduced Kane. I think nothing is better than that. The build up, the everything, the Vince McMahon dubbing in, it's gotta be Kane. Like, all of that was so well done. Like, you couldn't tell me Kane wasn't really like Undertaker's little brother that was in the fire. Like, when he took his mask off, I was dumb scared. Like, I was so into that. Paul Bearer, they were able to, at that point, the Undertaker character, Paul Bearer's character at that point was almost 10 years old almost. And they
Wow,
were
yeah.
able to bring new life into that and introduce a new character that ended up being like a Hall of Famer and shit. So I'm gonna get that out the way. Those are the first ones that really, really captured me. But what's one of your first ones that you remember?
When you said captured, you mean like that took
Made
you
you
like
want to
on an
watch.
emotional roller
Yeah,
coaster?
because you had mentioned before,
Oh,
Brian H. Ford, you were like, I would watch it. It was just like wrestling, but like, what storyline really were you were heavily invested in that you like thought about when you were watching wrestling, or you looked forward to exactly when that was going to culminate week to week to week?
Bretton versus Owen from the beginning. That
Hmm.
was like the one that, like I mentioned, Hogan and Beefcake. That was like, but Brett and Owen, like you said, thinking about it, everywhere, just on the simple fact that really like not watching wrestling, hoping they getting along, hoping they can figure this thing out, hoping that Owen can just like understand, like let's get on the same page. Like at what was it was 94, so I was 8. I wanted them to win the tag titles. Oh no, I was 7. Give return 8. I wanted them to win the tag titles of the Royal Rumble. Like I remember when the incident happened. I watched the Survivor Series at my grandmother's house. So then we ordered the Royal Rumble, and I'm like, yeah, they back together, they good. I remember the promos, and then he kicked his leg out of his leg, and I was pissed. And then WrestleMania happens, and I was like, all right, well, Brett, you got to beat your little brother. Then when Brett lost, I was mad. Like I was mad until Brett won the title, and then Owen comes out there. I was like, now that's why still. And that whole summer, I thought at any given time, I was like, come on, Brett, you cannot let your younger brother beat you. I thought maybe he would catch him slipping.
Yeah, that's a good one. And again, it touched that line of reality where it's like we do know that they're wrestling brothers. There is probably some sort of sibling rivalry, whether it's real or fake or whatever, how big it was. But that was a big one. Before we get into some other ones, I do want to talk about this storyline because a couple people mentioned in the comments. Keith was the real IC champion, so that's another storyline in wrestling that happened inspired by real life events. There is a reason why Shawn Michaels had to there's a reason why there were two IC champions, like in real life circumstances, and they were able to kind of capitalize it on this ladder match. But how did you guys like this, Brian? I know I feel like you were watching it at the time. Like, how did you guys feel about this one? Probably one of the best.
Yeah, I didn't like Shawn Michaels at all. So, and I was a big Razor Ramon fan. No, correction. I didn't like Razor until this when he won the Battle Royal and he beat Ricky. Well, him and Rick Martel won, and then Razor beat him. Somehow or another, they presented Razor as the good guy. So, I became a fan, and just watching this, it was just like, anybody. I wanted anybody and everybody to beat Shawn. Seindole looking at Adam Cole.
Yeah, you know me, honey, baby. But I'm watching because it's interesting. We're talking about storylines, and I don't want to mute the conversation because I have the captions on. But they're starting to slow burn that Adam Cole isn't really for MJF, and he's starting to defend himself, and he's starting to get that look in his eye, like the look he got in his eye when he didn't want to give what's his name the title shot during NXT. So now I'm like, ooh, what you about to do on Sunday? What are you going to do? Are you going to turn on your friend? You guys have been, they even played like a montage of like their great moments. And then they played a montage of like when Adam Cole was literally eyeing the AEW championship. So I'm like, slow burn.
I don't
What are you
want
going
them to
to do?
turn yet, though. I want this to extend because
But
I know.
but see what I mean? They're slowly starting to churn.
I know it's just when they turn, then they're gonna feud, but then they're gonna get Cole out the way so they can do fucking MJF Punk, and I'm not ready for that yet because Adam Cole MJF is just like, yo, y'all stumbled into something great. Just keep running with this. It's like WWE stumbling into LA Knight, and then we're gonna kind of like hot skip it instead and kind of put the kibosh on it versus like, yo, run with this. This is working. Go with it for once. Don't cool it off.
Mine, listen, Invasion had me in a chokehold Because why did I think the WWE was really about to lose to WCW? I'm telling you, this is why I'm telling you, I missed the internet. This was, mind you, a lot of people don't know. This is when like MySpace, like not MySpace. It was when the website started coming around, like started exposing things. Like yes, yes. Thank you, Justin. So it was more of like I really thought, and then the whole of it was you didn't know where Austin stood.
Yeah.
And he was the wow factor. You really didn't know where he stood. Was he going to be a WCW? Was he going to screw over Vince McMahon and help them? Was he going to help WWE? And
are
it
you
got
talking
to
in the beginning or the end of it? Like, are
like
you talking into the pay-per-view?
the whole
Okay.
thing. The whole thing. First of all, shout out to Stephanie being running ECW. And when I saw Paul Heyman, I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. Like, this is gonna be good. Like, and then you had people week after week, they were WWE, they weren't WWE anymore. People actually started going back to WWE. Like, it was the whole thing. Like, I think the most shocking turn in that whole thing was Taz. Because remember, Taz was so gun-ho WWE, and then he flipped the switch. There's a lot of people that flipped the switch doing matches, and that's what made it good. It wasn't we're just gonna have the alliance of everybody that was in WCW like on the spot. It was you didn't know somebody would have a match with would be in WWE match, and then all of a sudden, boom, they were a part of the alliance. You didn't know if somebody was a part of the alliance, and they're like, screw the alliance, I'm going back to where the money's at, and they're in WWE. The whole thing was like every week you didn't know what was going to happen. And then, like I said, the whole Kurt Angle of it all, like shout outs to Kurt. Like Kurt Angle being both the serious and the comedic relief in that whole thing made it so good. But at the end of the day, it's Team WWE all the way. Even the aftermath was funny because he had Stephanie and Shane humble. Well, Shane didn't humble himself. Stephanie did. Stephanie did the whole princess thing, like, Daddy, I'm so sorry that I tried to take down the family business by buying the company underneath your nose. And then like the whole thing, like I really like when I tell you I literally Invasion was like the first review I actually like watched in that era, like from start to finish. And even like with Lita and Trish having to partner together to beat Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson, I love that. They gave the women their platform on that pay-per-view, even though it was kind of like it wasn't A plus, but
it was to give everybody eye candy.
And then everybody was fighting. Like they had the refs fighting.
Yeah.
Like remember
that's what made it believable.
It made all of it believable. So it gets a 10 out of 10.
I want to say though, I'm glad you shed light on it because everybody has ripped and crapped over the Invasion for the past 22 years and really picked it apart. But you really brought out a lot of the positives in it, and Keith said it best. They didn't have like the right players in place to live up to the expectation, but considering what they had, like nobody brings up the fact that it was a fight.
It was a fight.
No, the referees had to pick sides and everything.
Because the referees were screwing WWE matches, and then the WWE guys were taking shit from the WCW, ECW guys. So who fought? Was it Earl Hebner that fought?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Earl Hebner because he said, "I'm not taking none of y'all shit. You want to see me outside." And then they had that ref that was cheating. I was like, I'm done. Like, this is just crazy. Like, everybody played a part. Like, they had WCW like referees doing WWE matches. It was just all of it was good full circle for me. And the aftermath of it, you do get a lot of WCW talent and ECW talent staying. You get Eric Bischoff after all that becomes the general manager of Raw.
Mm-hmm.
That was the card flip to me. And then like you get Stephanie becoming the general manager of SmackDown, even though she tried to take her daddy company. Like it was just it should have gotten more credit because you also had a brand split right after because they saw how brand splits worked. They saw how having two brands kind of worked. It doesn't get enough credit. That storyline and how they brought in WCW closing, it doesn't get enough credit. So I enjoy it thoroughly because of that. It brought a lot to the company.
I agree. Justin, what's yours?
So for me, if we're going to first ones, I've already talked about Savage and Elizabeth, Savage and Warrior from WrestleMania 7. So I'll go to another one on that same card that carried into 91, going into the summer, going into my first wrestling experience, like I've talked about, SummerSlam 91. That's Virgil and the Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase. And the Million Dollar Man finally getting his comeuppance after making Virgil literally eat shit, rub his damn back, rub his nasty ass feet, everything, and to where like WrestleMania 7, they actually have a match with Roddy Piper nursing the knee injury at ringside. You know, Virgil wins by countout just because Piper is fucking with DiBiase the entire time, and DiBiase is trying to taunt and be cocky and all that shit, and it leads to the SummerSlam match that year in MSG. Million Dollar Man actually puts his $1 million title on the line. Virgil finally gets his comeuppance, beats DiBiase, wins that $1 million belt, but it's like a long-term story of like, yo, I'm tired of you fucking with me. I know I'm supposed to be like your muscle, your butler, whatever the fuck Virgil was, but it was like, bro, at some point, when are you gonna throw hands on your boss? Because this is some bullshit where he's just mistreating you left and right. You know, person of color versus rich white man. Obviously, as a 6-year-old living in the Bronx, I'm like, yo, beat his white ass. Like, what the fuck is this shit? And then to have that culminate was just like, bro, yes, 6-year-old me was sitting in MSG just like, whoop his ass, whoop his, take his shit. But like,
yo,
yeah,
Virgil's the first wrestler I ever met.
What?
And that's literally like Virgil's like career highlight achievement is that fucking 91.
Yo, I always bring up this story. He tried, and he was in one of our local malls, and so I met him the first time. I'm like excited. It's Easter Saturday, and I remember calling my Uncle Mike, like, Uncle Mike, guess what? I just met Virgil. And he's like, okay. Then the next time saw him again, I'm like, wait, do he live around here? Because why is he in this mall on a random day? If any gamers in here, y'all remember that horrible Xbox WrestleMania 21 game? I was getting the refurbished version, and I saw him, and then I seen him at an RCW show. That's when he tried to recruit the real Dwayne Allen as a wrestler, because he said, "Wait, you tall man, won't you come on out and wrestle?" But yeah, shout out to Virgil.
When was it when Virgil became like persona non grata? Like everyone wasn't fucking with Virgil, and when you go to indie shows, you leave Virgil's booth alone. Like when did that start happening?
Right?
When he started saying that dumb shit on the internet.
Yeah,
like
another one.
Done some questionable shit on the internet.
I didn't know because like I remember going to an Evolve show on WrestleMania New Orleans weekend. This was Mania 34. And like everyone's showing everyone love, yo. You're seeing the Indies, and then Virgil had like a booth, and no one fucking went to his booth the entire time. And what sucked was his booth was like right next to where you get like drinks and streamers and shit like that. So everyone's going to go get the streamers and drinks, and everyone's like avoiding Virgil. And I was like, wait, why is everyone like? I wasn't tapped into the IWC to really understand like why is everyone avoiding Virgil? Like, is he persona non grata? If that's the case, why is he even here?
I mean, in all honesty, he ain't do nothing worse than anybody else, but at that time, and then he just, he was getting like the OJ Simpson effect on the internet a lot of times. Like, what are you talking about? Like when OJ first got out of jail, he started doing all things.
But they all do it.
Yeah,
but
OJ committed double murder. I don't know if that's the bar I want to use for that comparison.
I'm just talking about the video parts. I'm just talking about the video. Was like,
I'm just saying, I'm old enough to remember that OJ trial from start to end when they fucking cut away from the Knicks finals game, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Who the fuck is an OJ Simpson? Why can't they just get this over with? Like, why we gotta go watch this man drive around? I didn't get it.
Yeah, I feel you.
Oh yeah, I was living it, but I was a kid though. I was like, what? Well, I was 94, so I'm 8.
You were 7, right? 8.
I was 8. About to turn 9 that next month. Like, who the fuck is an OJ Simpson, and why are we watching him drive around for hours? It's some bullshit. Take him off the TV.
Oh my god.
Then you see him on trial for double murder. It's like, I didn't know this.
That's what that was about.
Hey man,
the 90s was crazy because it's almost like whatever was on TV was almost like just for pure entertainment, like including that, and then like wrestling kind of went right in that same vein. Like even Russo, I wanted to talk about Russo because we were talking about storylines and the Marty Jannetty Dark Side and like all the ones that he's a part of, and he's the one that kind of took the storyline aspect of sports entertainment into the other direction, like where it's all about storyline, like to the point where he's even called the championship belt a prop in a storyline.
Yeah,
because that's how heavy into like whatever that was happening that he did. And a lot of people say he did more harm for the business in that sense. But then again, someone who grew up in the Attitude Era, who was captivated by a lot of these storylines, did he really do more harm or good? But I do want to acknowledge that he took that aspect and really was like, no, we're gonna make this like Crash TV. We're gonna make it like Jerry Springer, to where you literally cannot change the channel.
And Jerry Springer was a thing.
That's a fan club. Times that like wrestling mimic real life.
Ooh,
because like if you look at, you talk about like the OJ storyline, though, when the Nation of Domination started, I legit thought the one dude in there was Chris Darden. As a child, I was like, "Is that the guy from?" I legit
hilarious.
Wow.
Wow.
Go back and look at it. Y'all gonna understand what I'm saying.
No, like that sounds like I could see that. Yeah. Howard Stern, yep, Jerry Springer, all those vibes. Yep.
I'm just picturing things to the people versus OJ Simpson. Like I'm just picturing like, oh shit, I remember Chris or was it Sterling Kane Brown who played him? But it's like now I'm trying to picture like who the fuck in Nation of Domination will fit that with the glasses and everything. Like, all right, now I gotta go pull this up.
Right. No, you're right. And I love again like being able to kind of go back and look at some of our favorite storylines, because it's so much harder to maintain any sort of kayfabe these days because everything is so overexposed. We're in the IWC. Everyone's an insider. Everyone knows everything. Everyone can predict the right way to write a storyline. But back in the day, we really just kind of had to see what was happening on TV weekly. And that's when the storylines, I think, were like the most captivating, because we were left to our imagination. We didn't know contract negotiations and all that bullshit. We literally seen whatever they wanted us to see. They curated what we wanted to see.
People were going to film movies and TV shows and shit like that. They were just, shit, he got his ass whooped and is off TV for 6 months.
Yeah. Like just even hearing what Baron Corbin did when he was broke Corbin in the modern era and being that dedicated to that, I have to give the props to that. I also want to do a fan club one day on the idea of kayfabe and what's that meant over the years, and like how much should we be dedicated to that, knowing that we have the internet and YouTube and every wrestler has a podcast and social media. Because I think about an example of that before we close out. When Lita and Trish were beefing this most recent time this year, they did a signing together. And I don't know why I was like disappointed that they were still team bestie at this signing. Like I was truly hoping, because it was after Trish turned on her, I wanted them to act like that and like push the envelope kayfabe mode. But it's hard to do that when you're trying to make a living with your personality. And of course, everyone has access to so many different things. IWC working themselves into shoots, those narratives that go, like someone could tweet one narrative and all of a sudden it's like the truth. So it's really hard to be able to kind of live in these storylines and really like suspend your disbelief and be captivated. So I loved being able to kind of talk about some of our favorites.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
This was fun.
It was. I want to make sure too that our VIPs and everyone that's a member of the fan club, we want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So if you ever have a topic that we need to explore, tweet us #TWG fan club, and we will definitely put it on the books. I don't know if we have a topic on the docket for next Wednesdays. So I would love for it to be a pick of, one of our VIPs, what you want us to talk about. Our Cody Rhodes streamed it very, very well. We did wrestling chants. That was fun. Wrestling theme songs. There's so much that we can do. The wrestling business, the wrestling industry is so vast. There's so much going on. Comic-Con is coming up soon as well. So it's a very exciting time to be a wrestling fan. And that's why I love that we have this platform every week to stream live and talk about the things that we want to talk about, besides all the live TV shows, because there's a lot of wrestling out there. But I do want to, before everyone tells us where to find them, I want to shout out House of Glory, because that is where me and CM this past weekend for High Intensity. their anniversary show. It was an amazing show. It was packed. It was a good time.
Shout out to the main event for becoming the new HOG Tag Team Champions.
Yes.
Full circle for them.
Congratulations,
Full
guys.
circle for them. Last year at High Intensity, they actually went up against. They actually had a tag team match with Private Party, and the main event. It was them, the main event, and the Briscoes, and they Briscoes actually asked for them to be in that match. So shout out to them. There's full circle moment for them. I know they were very emotional. But it was a great. They had a steel cage in the middle. HOG, Lord of Mercy. We were trying to figure out.
We were literally watching them put it together.
We was like, wait, who's it? And shout out to Nick Shin, who we now know can put a cage together. Shout out to our favorite ref.
Yeah,
it was
shout out to our favorite ref. Shout out to Jay Bougie as well, who we were able to see in the Battle Royal earlier that night, along with Smooth Black Men family. A lot of the legends and Jobber Chase family was there. We didn't get a chance to mingle with everybody, but we'll be at the September show because it looks like that's going to be a goodie. Listen,
the Valens are back
again, like for a Friday night, fucking watching wrestling. I love it.
Yep. The Vad Villains are back.
Yeah.
At the next HOG show. So that's going to be very interesting because they're a tag team, and look who they might end up fighting.
Yeah, we'll definitely be there. I'm very excited for that.
There. Back to Queens we go.
Yeah. Shout out to Keith. We love when we hear stuff like that. Shout out to my other half, KRISTA B. When people tell us they watch us in the gym, we get them through their shifts and all that. That's what we love about the fan club for sure. Is being able to get you through your gym sessions and all that kind of stuff. I cannot wait to come back with my crew next Wednesday, 7 p.m. on Twitch. Every Wednesday, actually, you can catch us live. KRISTA B and I will be recording our live episodes again starting in September. We're very excited. So make sure you let us know what you want us to talk about. We have some episodes lined up, but we want to know what you guys like. What women do we need to be putting a spotlight on that we need to talk about? Thank you, Vaughn, for reminding me to mention our 5th anniversary. That is coming in November, tentatively November 4th. That is tentative. I'll let you guys know what's going on, but just follow our social media platforms. Tell your friends. It's going to be an extravaganza, as it always is. Shout out to Rikarsha. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and subscribe to our Patreon and all that good stuff. Where can everybody find you?
So you can find me on all social media platforms at It's Justin Rich. You can find me here Wednesday nights live on Twitch on those Wrestling Girls Twitch channel from 7 to 9 Eastern Standard Time for TWG Fan Club. Myself and these 3 beautiful, illustrious, intelligent co-hosts of mine. You can catch me from time to time Tuesday nights, Twitter Spaces around 6:35 p.m. for Turnbuckle Talk with me and Cord, where we talk all things wrestling. You can catch me from time to time on True Hill Heat Sports and True Hill Heat Wrestling. Both of those channels are located on YouTube. We talk sports, wrestling, and all that fun stuff. We here, we outside, we active. Santana Ortiz is fucking back. Let's go.
Yeah.
You can find me, Brian H. Waters, on all social media platforms, that being Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and I don't know, maybe Spell. I think I might get rid of it. It's taking up room on my phone. But make sure you check out this week's episode of Wednesday Worldwide, where Cal, Ben, and I, through all the technical difficulties that I had, talked about a question from the Wednesday Worldwide hotline, and I can't wait to hear what y'all would think. What if Roger Goodell and WWE got together and booked Bad Bunny for the Super Bowl, but to have a match during halftime?
And Bad Bunny can make that happen.
And we decide who would his opponent be. But then there was another twist to the question, and that twist was, what if in the contract the only way the match could happen would be if he was to take down Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship? Would you book it? So we talked about that, had a fun conversation. And yeah, make sure you check me out tonight on the Wrestling Realm Now podcast, where we're going to talk about some of our biggest returns in pro wrestling. I already gave you one I'm going to hit on tonight earlier, but I got some more in the chamber. So y'all make sure to tune in 10:30 tonight.
I love it. I love it.
And last but not least, it's your honorary wrestling girl, Seindole B. You can catch me on Instagram, reload.relive. You can catch me on Twitter, still Twitter, Reload via Film, talking a whole lot of shit about everything wrestling. You can catch me here every Wednesday with the 3 best friends that anybody can have on Fan Club. You can also catch me from time to time on my YouTube channel, which is same thing, Reload, Relive. Shout out to my brothers at the Backstage Brawl. I'm too excited to announce that on September 30th. I will be joining their telecast.
The homies. Get their shirts.
I will be. Yes, make sure you get their shirts. Buy merch. Buy your favorite podcasters merch. Find your favorite wrestler and buy their merch. Buy merch. Don't be waiting for no free merch. We don't do free. Free does not pay the bills. Okay. Support everybody. Support your friends. And speaking of support and buying, my Amazon storefront is now updated with more wrestling t-shirts, including skincare section has now been updated. So all y'all who be asking me how the skin glows, I do have it all on my Amazon storefront. Of course, a bunch of other things that are on there.
Okay, girl, I'm gonna need you to hook me up.
I know I got you. You guys make sure you're exfoliated and make sure your sunscreen's on point. Even though, listen, we still wear sunscreen in the winter because the UV rays be messing up our skin. So I'll be hooking y'all up. So don't be afraid to also look at my website. It is seindole.komi.io. It's in the link in all my bios, and I can't wait to see your beautiful faces again.
Them TikToks be hitting.
Yes. Also, interact with me on TikTok because I be talking about wrestling TikTok a lot more, and I notice a lot of people be agreeing with me, but don't be afraid. Be like, listen, this community is far and wide. People are watching, people are understanding, and we just need to be ourselves. Not too much. Don't suggest too much because then it becomes a thing, but still. Don't be afraid to interact with your favorite content creators and your favorite people in this space. And on that note, I can't wait to see all your lovely faces again.
TikTok, we don't stop.
Nope.
Make sure you subscribe to Justin's YouTube channel. Check out everything Brian H. Waters has going on. Follow KRISTA B and check out Schooling and all that. We love all of you. And on that note, we will see you next week.
Peace.
#TWG Fan Club.
Love you guys.